right. Pay attention, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, we'll call our meeting to order. We need to add, on the agenda, 4.2, Mark Landry, infrastructure cost sharing presentation. Other than that, anything else anybody wants to add? Okay, could I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Jim Coates, a seconder. Land. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Conflict of interest declarations? None. Public presentations, Brenda Lee, Community Coordinator, Age-Friendly Community Recognition.
So,
Good.
thank you everyone for inviting us to come this evening and share some information on the age-friendly community.
Yeah, really.
We hope when you're done, when I'm done the presentation, that you'll be as excited about the initiative as we are. It's a real opportunity for. I'll try to stay here. It's a really exciting initiative in the province going forward that you'll want to learn more about it. So I just thought I would, I'll stand back up here, I guess. We're going to share a short video with you. It's just about 5 minutes long. Let me know if you have any trouble seeing it or whatever. And then I thought I'd just share a few key highlights about the initiative and see if there's any questions. So.
Have you thought about how you're going to age within your community? How about your family members and friends? What could the next chapter of their life look like? The fact is that New Brunswick is aging. By 2030, nearly half the population will be 65 or older. At the same time, urbanization is straining housing, infrastructure, and healthcare. Statistics show that most people want to stay in their homes or communities. Furthermore, social isolation is as harmful as smoking. We also know that a lack of transportation limits quality of life, and elder abuse affects 1 in 10 seniors. This emphasizes the growing need for age-friendly communities in New Brunswick and demonstrates why it's so crucial at this pivotal time.
Age-friendly Active Communities New Brunswick, or AFAC-NB for short, is a dedicated nonprofit organization working in conjunction with the Department of Social Development. Our mission is to inspire and assist communities in achieving and sustaining recognition as an age-friendly community in New Brunswick. In addition, we work to strengthen awareness of the demographic trend of our aging population.
Started by the World Health Organization and in collaboration with the Public Health Agency of Canada, age-friendly communities were established in 2007 and continue to be supported by both organizations today. The research and development of age-friendly communities spans over 3 decades. This research revealed an aging population that is compounded by a reduction in birth rates, as well as an increase in urbanization.
As a result of these findings, the province of New Brunswick launched the Age-Friendly Community Recognition Program in 2012. This program is aimed at providing enhanced support and encouragement for all communities throughout the province to attain age-friendly community recognition.
The goal of the program is to promote health, well-being, and quality of life for older adults, which contributes to the overall well-being of the entire community. This is a comprehensive strategy to overcome challenges and embrace the opportunities pertaining to our aging population and urbanization. The age-friendly community framework encompasses 8 key domains of an individual's life. These domains are categorized as physical environment, social environment, or personal well-being.
The age-friendly community initiative takes a proactive, preventative approach to improve living conditions now and in the future. This globally recognized framework, supported by the government of New Brunswick, ensures communities are designed to promote healthy aging. Managed by the Department of Social Development, the initiative raises public awareness and fosters inclusive, healthier communities for all generations. It is one of the most effective ways to address the challenges of an aging population.
While older adults enrich our communities with wisdom and experience, age-friendly communities benefit everyone, not just older adults. They promote social inclusion, improve public health, and enhance the overall quality of life. An age-friendly community fosters intergenerational connections and has significant socioeconomic and financial benefits. These communities are more inclusive, supportive, and resilient, making them better places for people of all ages to live and thrive, both today and tomorrow.
The concept of neighbors helping neighbors holds a special place in my heart. Living in a New Brunswick community, I have the privilege of experiencing this kind of support every day. Age-friendly communities embody this concept and so much more. They foster respect, social inclusion, employment opportunities, encourage civic engagement, and provide accessible information. Furthermore, these communities prioritize access to community support and health services, creating a foundation for well-being and resilience.
So how can your community become age-friendly recognized? AFAC-NB has created an onboarding package and step-by-step guide to assist you through the process of prepping and applying for age-friendly status, as well as the requirements to maintain your status after recognition is awarded. We're here to support you, and we're excited to start this journey with you.
Now is the time to build age-friendly communities in New Brunswick to support a better future for all of us.
Okay. So I just wanted to start off just to clarify a few points there. So there's 3 initiatives that all say age-friendly within their title. So there's age-friendly communities, which is the global initiative. There's the New Brunswick Age-Friendly Community Recognition Program. And there's Age-Friendly Active Communities New Brunswick, which happens to be the name of our organization, or AFAC-NB for short. So to summarize what the video said there, an age-friendly community is designed to promote the health, well-being, and quality of life of older adults within the community, which then enhances the well-being of all generations, all citizens within the community. So the process is facilitated by citizens for citizens. And it's to improve quality of life within the community, not only today, but into the future. But also, it's more of a proactive, but also a preventative measure. So as mentioned in the video there, it was started by the World Health Organization and backed by the Public Health Agency of Canada. And there was over 30 years of research that went into this initiative before it was launched in 2007. 2012, the province of New Brunswick got on board. So this is our organization, Age Friendly Active Communities New Brunswick. We have a website that you can search if you want. It's Age Friendly Active Communities New Brunswick, obviously. And we have a Facebook page under the same name. And you can also look at lots of information on the province's website too. There's a map there of recognized communities or those that are on the path. It hasn't been updated recently, but it's in the works. But it does show the communities that are recognized so far. So age-friendly communities is a holistic approach, looking at all the different areas of a person's life, as mentioned in the video there, the physical, the social, and the personal well-being. And someone said this one time, so I decided to put the slide in here. It's sometimes the barrier isn't the aging process, sometimes it's just our physical environment. Heavy doors, so I had a gentleman that had a quadruple, bypass. And, he does some consulting work for us, and he said, Brenda, after my surgery, I went to a restaurant. And I stood outside the restaurant for 10 or 15 minutes to get in because the door was just too heavy, I couldn't get it opened. And things like that, we don't even think about sometimes in our day-to-day lives as we get busy. But, there are a lot of things that can impact our quality of life. So I think we've heard the statistics there in the video, reasons why we need to, not only is our population aging, but also our birth rates are way down. So it's just our whole, demographic there, projections are switching. So in the information that I sent out, which we can kind of highlight if you want, there's obviously many reasons, why we need to implement communities that are more age-friendly. Transportation barriers, social isolation, there's new studies out, statistics that show that, isolation is as harmful as smoking cigarettes. Ageism, elder abuse, all these things are on the rise today. So there's a wide range of benefits. And there's benefits for mayor and council to look at adopting it as well. So not only does it reflect your core values or your civic responsibility, but it's a nice way to attract or keep your residents if they're able to stay in their home or at least stay within their community. It'll create a more cohesive community, especially if there's representatives from all the new former LSDs, correct me if I'm wrong, that make up the community now, is that correct? So if there is representation, a citizen from each area, then it will bring everybody together too. So it helps to give your community a positive image as far as mayor and council is concerned. It opens up funding opportunities and partnerships, and it's meant to be a support to you, not more work, smarter work, basically, not more work. So you do have to embrace it, and we'll get into that in just a minute here, but it's not meant to be more work for mayor and council. So it's a low cost for high impact. So again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not intended to focus on what the program offers council, and I don't want to, by that last slide, enhance that aspect of it. But what I'm saying is it's meant to benefit the citizens. It's citizen-led, particularly older adults, and they're given a structured opportunity to identify what they are experiencing, what challenges they're facing, and what would meaningfully improve their quality of life in their community. And I think it's really important because it does give a structured framework for citizens to be able to work from. It doesn't have people that are just coming one at a time, and it gives them a structured framework to share their lived experiences through and to be able to build on that. So one of the key things I did want to make sure I mentioned was the program ensures that older adults themselves have a voice in shaping priorities and solutions, rather than the powers that control sometimes the communities or the government, making assumptions being made on their behalf as to what is needed. So it gives them that voice and that opportunity. So I did want to just look at the program itself, the New Brunswick Recognized Age-Friendly Community Program. So I think, Mayor, you had this question, you were wondering what the steps were involved to become an age-friendly community. So step one, which is why we are here tonight, to ask for your support in passing a resolution to become an age-friendly community. From there, a committee is put in place. And that can be done in a variety of ways. Rose and I have recently supported a couple of communities with flyers where they put them up around the community. So that is going to be a little bit of work on behalf of the staff or counselors to see, maybe you know someone from your area, from your ward, that you might want to put their name forward to be on the committee. Or maybe it's someone that works in another stakeholder in the community. So finding, a lot of communities will find that, council will find that one person or two people that they think would be good to lead the charge and put a committee together. We do recommend that a member of council or a member of staff sits on this committee, just act as a liaison and be able to bring information back and forth. So once the committee's in place, then the committee will take over. It's recommended as a steering committee, it's set up, it works alongside council, but outside of council. And the next steps from there, once their committee's in place, they'll do an assessment of the community. So what do we have now? What opportunities are there available? A lot of times committees will tell me that they didn't even realize what was already available in their own communities. When they started doing the assessment, they became aware of things that were already there that they didn't realize. So it's just taking a portrait of your community, looking at your citizens, what your population is, the age demographics, and what, supports are in place now, what opportunities are there. Then you survey your citizens, or you can do focus groups, town halls. This would be the committee that does that and gathers the information from citizens as how they're faring in the community pertaining to those 8 domains. So you do the research on the 8 areas. And from there, the next step would be to develop an action plan. And the committee, once they've developed that action plan, which we give them guidance throughout this whole process. We're a phone call away, virtual meeting away, whatever. And we can walk them through it. We have a guide right on our website that goes through it step by step. Once they have the action plan completed, it's brought to council to review. Council may have some recommendations. And then they share it with the public. And they're ready to apply to be recognized as an age-friendly community. What's recommended is 4 to 5 actions over a 3-year period. And that's it. It goes to social development for them to assess the application and bring guidance to the committee if needed going forward. So as I mentioned earlier, council's role is primarily supportive, including passing a resolution. But the other catch to this too is making sure that you promote the committee's work within your community. And once you recognize that you are a recognized age-friendly community, we have, communities that are recognized now, but the citizens weren't aware of it. Because I think that the recognition comes, and usually with that comes an event. The minister will come and recognize the community as age-friendly, and you get a pull-up banner, plaque and things, and then it there's no other promotion about it after that. And it's important to keep that going. So your citizens know they still have a committee they can go to with concerns and things, so. Okay. So does anybody have any questions so far?
Anybody?
I got me asked question. Mentioned there's 3 organizations all doing the same thing.
They all have the same name, so if I didn't articulate that correctly, so when I get up, like age-friendly communities is the global initiative. It's the initiative itself that every province in Canada now is working towards all the communities becoming age-friendly because they're seeing the success of the program. It started in 2007.
And does the program, this community has very, very, very active and successful nursing home without walls.
Yes.
And they do assessments of, they have a good feel for what the seniors in our communities.
And they'd be a perfect partner for the steering committee if they would be willing to even, some nursing homes without walls that are in communities that are age friendly will actually come to one of the meetings or sit on the committee if they have time, because I know they're busy as well.
So is this a funding group, you said? Like, does the council apply for funding from you?
No, we do provide a $2,500 startup contribution for the assessment process because, you know, there can be mailing costs, lunch costs, town rental or all rental costs. So we do provide that. And it's basically creating new partnerships. It's first seeing the needs out of the 8 domains. Transportation, I know, is a huge issue with, especially with more rural communities. And there are some projects in the works.
Because I think the nursing home without walls has done the assessment.
They do have
This one does anyway, I don't know locally, but.
because there are not all the same nursing homes without walls, but they are a great partner for a lot of committees because they are in the homes and sometimes it's a matter of having them take some surveys, paper copies if you're doing that format into the homes of seniors. And they can, you know, they do have their own survey, but it's pertaining to their services that they provide in conjunction with the nursing home. Does that answer the?
Yeah, I think. There just seems to be some redundancy of process.
And that's but see, age-friendly communities wouldn't offer any services, okay? We're gonna go in and we're gonna talk to the citizens and we're gonna see what's needed under those 8 areas. Like nursing homes without walls is a lovely partner, community-based partner for support. And they would provide something, there might be, depending on the nursing homes without walls, they could provide some transportation for some citizens. Or maybe it's, you know, to get to appointments, or maybe it's going to be caregiver support, where they're gonna take that individual, you know, be able to take their loved one to the nursing home for lunch, or whatever services that particular nursing home offers. But that's gonna be pertaining to health services. So this is 8 areas. So, and transportation, I guess, side of that. But that's, as far as I know, nursing homes without walls is just a doctor's appointments. We're looking at the overall transportation issue period, because transportation barriers can really impact quality of life. But nursing homes without walls is an amazing organization and, you know, or initiative that's really helping as well. We do talk about them just in a few slides coming up, because there's Ability New Brunswick, there's all kinds of partners that are created with the steering committee. The steering committee is gonna work within the community and find out what the needs are of the citizens. It may be nursing homes without walls, or it could be Ability New Brunswick they need resources from, or it could be help with their housing. If, you know, they need a different type of housing, or a different level of care. There's, the sky's the limit with this initiative, depending on what the needs are within the. Okay, so just to follow up with that, so this just talks about what's expected of the committee. So they'll build partnerships and work to develop solutions. They will advocate on behalf of your community and its residents. What we do, AFAC NB, so the Age Friendly Community Committee, Age Friendly Active Communities New Brunswick is committed to supporting your committee. So starting with the $2,500 financial startup contribution, we create network opportunities and educational opportunities for the committees to network with the other committees in the province. And even nationally or globally. So if you have, you know, if you're trying to come up with, your action is to improve transportation. And we have 14 other committees that are working on transportation in rural pockets of their community. We can then bring them all together and try to put together like a community of practice. Where we can work on that. So we provide networking and educational opportunities. We support committees through the application process and guidance in implementing their action plan. Mayor and council will embrace the age-friendly model and use its platform to promote it's an age-friendly community and the work being conducted by the committee. And I should just add to that, if the committee finds something that's needed that the council is responsible for, then they can come to council and say, this is one of our actions. But it doesn't mean obviously that council can then say, oh, feel responsible that they have to complete that right away. They can say, hey, that's on our budget in 2028. And then they would then say that action plan's being done in 3 years' time. So it's not necessary that they feel obligated or that they have to complete it right away. It's just it gets brought forward as an issue. So age-friendly communities are not a checklist, it's a journey and it's ongoing. And it's something, it's like creating a new culture. It's something you start within the community. And it really can help to bring all generations together. The province does like you to reapply and maintain your recognition status every 5 years. So here's where I mentioned the partnerships. So some are local libraries and schools that other committees have partnered with. Developers, landowners, the business community within theirs. Ability New Brunswick, 211NB, nursing homes without walls, a friendly voice, dementia friendly communities. They can all be supports to the steering committee in your community. So age-friendly communities are just working to improve overall health, physical and mental health. Infrastructures and accessibility is something that's really important. And we found, like I said earlier, with the committee knowing what was in the community, change happens just when the conversation starts.
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Seems like there might be some synergies between the Regional Service Commission, Social Development Department, and this. Do you work with those folks at all?
It depends on what community we're working with. So we work with 47 communities that are predominantly Anglophone communities. So we would go meet with that Regional Service Commission and try to find out if there's something, depending on what the committee needs or what the action is they're working on, or we guide them in that direction. You know, have you spoken to the Regional Service Commission? So yes, absolutely.
And my second question is, I guess on the financial side of things, do you have any examples of how much these programs cost a community in the short and long term?
So it shouldn't cost the community anything other than doing the assessment process. Is that what you mean?
I guess when you go through the process, people are gonna be saying, well, you know, we need a ramp here, we want wheelchair friendly trails, things like that. So that's kind of where my head's going with it, like.
So it depends on if it's something council's responsible for, like improving accessibility with, you know, the curbs or the four-wheeled chairs, walkers, assistive devices, then they can bring it to council and say, this is a real issue. Or if it's, we need more benches, you know, and it depends on, if it's something that council's directly responsible for, they can come and it can be a cost. I do know of one community that actually allots, I think it's $10,000 a year for their age-friendly committee to do projects within town that, and they can do with it what they want that year, whatever. I mean, obviously they bring it to council for review. It just depends, but
Ton of grants out there, right? So
Rose is my grant person, well, she gets upset when I say that, but I put her, I said, Rose, I want you to find every possible grant out there, but we also network with other organizations, and there's lots of money out there, there's lots of grants. And I know there's only so much to go around there, and there are, other funding available.
and on partners, right? And to deal with
And partners.
the right partners to get in on it. Like we have one community now that presently, like they had land donated. So somebody donated the land, no one had to buy the land, and they're gonna put a housing unit up on it, so. There's things like that, there's simple things like planters to beautify your main street, like, that Men Sheds did. Like, Men Sheds, which is a private organization, that's an organization that get men together. Cause after they retire and they build things and for the community, so. That's to be very creative in, in what your actions are and how you're gonna go about it. Doesn't all have to be, just money, 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 give me the money for this. It's, look out, see who your partners are and who you can get involved with it. Intergenerational stuff is with your local schools if you want, or community centers that you get together and you provide programs that, the old and the young get together and teach each other. Maybe communications might be a new newspaper or a flyer that's done every quarter that maybe, one of your local,
Or the old fashioned culture.
or the old fashioned culture, right? That, they would be willing to pay for the flyer, that goes out to share, what's going on in your community, or a local newspaper gets started and be funded by ads from the local.
I think the
things like
Lions
that.
Club does a lot of that in some of our age-friendly communities. They put out a monthly thing, a monthly flyer newsletter. We also have, Eastern Charlotte age-friendly community. They're doing their own quarterly, they don't mail it, of course, but they leave it in different locations for people to pick up.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
But that's, thank you.
So these are just a few slides I put together with examples of challenges or solutions on some of the initiatives. Again, all the new stats are out on how important social connection is. And okay. So is there any other questions or
Council, anybody? Thank you.
did everyone get the package that I sent out? I have a meeting. Okay, great.
Yep.
All right,
Well, thank you very much for your time. I hope I haven't overstayed my welcome.
so, thank you very much.
Oh, my
Appreciate it.
goodness. Just looking at the time, thinking I've been out here for way longer than I intended, but that's great. Lots of good questions.
Okay, so we'll need to take a few minutes recess while we set up. For the next comes under. Landry, video construction. Councilor Wiggum, secondary, Councilor Lane, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Green. Motion to let up recess. We're taking, all in favor?
All right.
Motion carried. Okay, Mark, Mark Landry's gonna do the presentation on the infrastructure cross sharing program, and Mark, the floor is yours.
Perfect. As Mayor Campbell, we'll put our green hats on.
There you go.
Very good.
Show
No, thanks again for giving us some time just to provide an update on the infrastructure cost sharing. My name is Mark Landry. I know a number of you know me. So I work at the Regional Service Commission, and infrastructure cost sharing is one of the mandates that I work on, including regional transportation and regional tourism. So I work with your team on an ongoing basis.
There you go.
Joining me today, we have Mayor Rob Campbell, as you all know. So Rob is one of our members on the Infrastructure Cost Sharing Committee.
I don't know. I feel a little bit out-hatted right now, so.
There's no relation.
And the other individual in green that's joining us is Mike Roma. So Mike is with RC Strategies. So those are the national consultants that have really guided us and worked with our region on the infrastructure cost sharing component.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Good job wearing green, Mike. So what we wanted to do is provide an update. Mayor Campbell had mentioned that last week, that it would be good to provide an update on the infrastructure cost sharing. And we thought we'll go through some of the information and make sure you all have awareness. And if there's any questions, we can clarify those. So I'll just bring some slides up on the screen, and then we'll kind of explain to make sure everyone knows where we're at. And after that, we can go through some of the questions. All right. Perfect. So everyone sees kind of that main screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. So I'll just go through these quickly. It just gives us an idea of where we're at and the work that's being done. So basically, as you know, as a regional level, we're really looking to think ahead and building our future together as a region. A couple of updates that we wanted to make. So for the infrastructure cost sharing, we had 2 phases. So phase 1, we called it the needs assessment. So that was looking at all the recreation, sports, recreation, and cultural needs across the region. So that document is really good. We've got some good input and people are comfortable there. And the phase 2 is what we call the collaboration framework. So that's where if a project would be considered, how would, partners work together? What's the process? So that's really what we're focusing on kind of in the dialogue and in today. Again, this is just a reminder of the vision, mission, and values that we worked with all the communities at a regional level. So basically, it's to look and bringing everyone together to build a better region. A couple of the guiding principles that our committee has really focused on the project, like looking at this as once in a generation opportunity. So we're really looking at best practices across the country. We really want to be a leader. And also, how can we make things as a region better for all the residents? We also looked at continuous improvement, and we'll talk about that as well. The committee was very clear in terms of we want this to be a living document, and once the process, is considered, how can we improve it? Making sure we're, filling the gaps, making sure we're the best value for the taxpayers so that we're not duplicating things, and really looking at the regional lens. So you'll see in the documentation, we're really data-driven. We really want to be a facilitator to bringing the communities together, and as we mentioned, a work in progress. A couple of items for the infrastructure cost sharing. So really the mandate or the goal statement of the committee was really to coordinate the process and bringing all the partners together. So that's what we're doing here today. Just for your information, these are the members of the Infrastructure Cost Sharing Committee. So as you can see, we had a number of board members on the committee. We had a number of CAOs and also some subject matter experts from the 3 levels of government. The province was also involved, so we really had a good cross-section of individuals that has worked with us for the last 2+ years. Also, we relied heavily on some of your team members across the region. So, for example, in Fundy, we worked a lot with Kim and Sean in terms of getting comments and feedback on the documentation. So we worked with our 13 communities. Just a reminder of the process that we went through. So I guess in 2023, it was really looking at the request for proposal. And at that point, it was really making sure that we went through that process. We had submissions from across the country, and we were very fortunate to hire RC Strategies, who are one of the best companies that have worked all across the country with different size communities, big and small. So we were very happy to have them part of this project. 2024, we really focused on the phase 1, the needs assessment, and 2025 was really on the regional collaboration framework, which we'll focus on today. So we had over 60 engagements. So we had dialogue at the infrastructure committee, the board, administrators, subject matter experts, partner conversation, cultural experts. A number of you attended the regional council discussions through the years. Also, we had a special session just talking about infrastructure cost sharing on December 2nd. So we really wanted to make sure we had input and feedback from all across the region. So again, this is the next step. So we had dialogue with the CAOs today. So we went through the dialogue. We had dialogue with the board last week, so on March 12th. We're planning an infrastructure cost sharing virtual information session for those that want more information on the 9th. And we'll provide more comments, but at the board level, the comments were we should really try to at least have something in place with this group of elected officials. As you know, we really collaborate well across the region. So the comments were, this is kind of a good opportunity to make sure we have a good basis that can be considered, and if it needs to be tweaked in the future, that's all right, but at least we'll have a good base to work from moving forward. So I guess on that note, before we go through kind of the phase 2 overview of the updates, we just wanted to provide that. So a couple of comments there. So on November 25th of last year, we had a board working session, as mentioned, with board members, CAOs, subject matter experts. And on December 2nd, we had invited all the councils to participate in a virtual session. So we collected all the comments and feedback, and we've incorporated all the changes in the document that we'll go through, which we reference as the phase 2 document. So that's really the focus we wanted to have today. So I guess on that note, Mayor Campbell, is there anything that you wanted to add as kind of a committee member? I know that there's been a lot of kind of involvement with a number of partners. Anything, Mayor Campbell, you wanted to mention before we kind of go through the phase 2 document? I think you're maybe muted, Mayor Campbell. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I guess essentially, Mark, you talked about the committee overview, and there was a representation in rural areas where I think for this group it's very important that rural areas were represented, and we pushed hard on a lot of different areas. And again, I think the one thing to really reiterate is that the province is going to put in a plan regardless. If we do not put something in place, the province will. So it's better to dictate our future as opposed to having the province do that. And there was a lot of diligence and a lot of back and forth on putting, I guess, mechanisms as you go through to have safety nets to protect, particularly rural communities against various items. And is it perfect? No. But again, I think, Mark, you talked about the future. It's better for this council or this board to put something in place now, because we don't know what the future is going to bring with other boards, and it can be modified as we go along if there's things we don't like.
Perfect. Thanks, Mayor Campbell, for that. So before I hand the floor to Mike, maybe I'll just stop sharing there, and I'll share just quickly the summary of the comments and feedback that we received. So again, we collected comments and feedback that we receive from communities across the region. And again, was really looking at, how can this be incorporated? So a couple of the comments, I'll just go through them quickly and Mike will go through the document. But there was a comment regarding third parties. So if it would not be a municipal project, how would that be considered? So the consensus was that should only be considered possibly in the future. Now it would just be considered if there's other municipalities that would consider projects. So we referenced the page update number. How would the financial borrowing work? So again, the host entity would be responsible for the entire kind of financing and go to the capital borrowing board. So that would really be their process. How would it work if other regional service commissions are involved? So again, there we've really emphasized on the dialogue and partnership right from the start. What happens if a community doesn't have capacity or doesn't want to cost share on a project? We really emphasize on what the process could be and how that works. So you'll see that in the document. And again, same thing as opting out. So we really got clarification. If a community does not want to participate and the host community is really adamant about that participation, we've really outlined well kind of the process that could be mapped out and how that would work. So it just gives you an idea. And as Mike goes through the document, you'll see we've highlighted all the changes. So that really helps provide kind of an understanding of all the updates that were made on that. So maybe on that note, Mike, do you want to bring up kind of the phase 2 document, and we can kind of go through quickly all the updates that were made based on the comments and feedback from all across the region?
Yeah, sounds good, Mark. Just confirming, can everybody see that screen? Good. Okay, hi, good to see you. Thanks for giving me a chance to explain this to you and for being part of the process to date. Just a quick sort of precursor to all this. The firm RC Strategies, which I'm the managing partner of, I've been with for 24 years. Our focus is actually in recreation and parks and culture planning. It's a little niche, kind of consulting practice that works across Canada. And we didn't set out to be maybe experts in regional collaboration. But the reason why we've kind of fallen into that is because recreation and parks and culture tends to be one of the primary services that either municipalities or entities work together to provide, or that one or more entities wants support from others to provide. It's kind of a pretty controversial topic, if you will, across Canada as it relates to this idea of working together regionally between municipalities or entities. So we've kind of fallen into it, but I'm pretty confident that we would have probably more experience than any other consulting company across Canada dealing with this subject matter. And I guess the benefit that we bring to a project like this is not only having been through it quite a number of times and understanding the concepts of regional collaboration and all that, but also being able to see how different jurisdictions tackle it. There are different levels of government set up. There are provincial mandates put forward. There's arbitration rulings. There's all kinds of stuff that has influenced, I guess, our expertise and our opinion, but even the information that we've brought forward to the committee that I think has added value to this whole process. So hopefully that builds a bit of street credit with the crowd there in terms of why Mike's here even talking about any of this stuff. I also want to just state that you're in a unique situation right now with obviously the reform, but also the provincial guidance, if you will, around regional collaboration, the fact that you have the commission in place. Not every jurisdiction has this, and definitely not every jurisdiction has an opportunity to put a framework together like this that can create some consistency across your region and how all 13 entities work together. So it's pretty unique. And like if this, it hasn't gotten to the finish line yet. There's no guarantees it does get to the finish line, I guess. But if it does get to the finish line, I can guarantee you that it'll be a leading practice across Canada. There'll be a lot of eyes on it. Two other things, sorry, before I jump into this. One is that I would consider this, based on all of my experience and knowledge of what's happening across Canada related to collaboration, I would consider this a toe dip into regional collaboration. And the reason why I would say that, as opposed to a cannonball or even like putting your all foot in kind of thing, is because it's only relevant to new capital costs. So a lot of times this kind of collaboration or cost sharing and responsibility sharing has to do with operational costs as well. It's only capital right now. Another reason why I'd say it's a toe dip is the amounts that we're talking about here. So percentages of project costs, of project capital costs, are actually very small for any of the entities that aren't the host or the owner. And I know they might not seem small, and even a few $1,000s is not small, but I say that in comparison to the other regional collaboration relationships that I know about exist in other places, or even ones that I've seen being awarded in some kind of like dispute resolution process. So there's still a financial implication for sure, but it is much less than I've seen in other situations. And then the last thing I want to say before I just walk through this quickly is just to reiterate what Mayor Campbell said, in that based on my knowledge of the situation right now as a third-party consultant, learning about the province and reform and the region and everything else, it does seem like this is your opportunity to write the script on how you might decide to collaborate together. And I can say from my experience in other places that if a province or a territory has intervened in a conversation like this, the solution that's been awarded is not as well thought out. It's not as kind of backed with data and theoretically sound as this is. And it's actually been to the benefit, significant benefit of the owner, the asset owner, and to the detriment, in my mind, to the detriment of the communities or entities that were told that they have to contribute a certain amount. So it's a chance to maybe protect, I guess, the region in some ways by controlling your own destiny. So that's all I'll say about in general about this framework. The screen you see in front of you, you'll see some purple highlighted text. That represents all of this stuff that was either changed or added to this document since we started going through it with the committee, with the CAOs. You probably would have, I'm not sure if any of you would have participated in the virtual session we had before Christmas or not, but you would have seen it as part of a package then. So anything purple is new. And I'm just going to briefly highlight what's in here. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you and try to, or I'll try to go through it pretty quickly just in case we have some time for questions after. So there was an executive summary added to it. That's an easy one, lots of purple there, but that just summarizes everything that's in here, answers those key questions here about need and what this is all about and how it works. One of the, I guess, key pieces of information in here, although it doesn't translate to any, specific ramifications for you or for any of the entities, is there's a section in here that just talks about the benefits of regional collaboration in general. Somebody, like, you have to believe in some of these things in order to buy into a framework like this for sure, and you definitely need to believe in them in order to get the most out of a framework. But there's collaboration is a good idea, and some of them are on this page, and then there's a whole appendix in the end of the report that kind of gives you even more on that. There's also a lot of different ways that you can work together as a region as it relates to recreation and sport and culture. So there's just a bit of education in here on different levels, I guess, of collaboration that you can participate in. And there's also some ideas on ways you can work together.
Can we
Yeah.
just ask you to hold up for a second?
Sure.
We
Sorry.
just had a
We just
power
had a
outage.
power failure.
Oh, I was wondering why that happened. I was wondering why the screen changed.
Thank you very much.
That was pretty efficient. Pretty good. You're either good at recovering or you're used to that. Both.
Maybe just a little.
All right, right on. Well, any of the stuff I had mentioned before is just sort of like priming the pump, if you will, about regional collaboration, ways you can work together, different levels you can achieve. There's a summary in here of the phase 1 work that was completed, which was a whole other process that helped identify what regional needs are related to recreation, sport, and culture. And the reason why this is important is because every one of the 13 entities in the region has their own needs, right? You have your own local perspectives, you have your own groups, maybe, or residents that are asking for things or that are actually being provided and they're using different types of amenities. And the reason why a regional perspective is important is because it looks at all of those 13 entities, what's going on in each one, combines all of that and provides some insight as to what, if you were wearing a regional hat, which is something I'll come back to, if you're wearing a regional hat, what needs would be for recreation, sport, and culture. So we did that work, and there's a summary of that here in the report. We'll come back to why that's relevant when I start talking about the actual formulas. The next chapter here is about defining whether an asset is regional, regional at a sub-regional level. So that's like, you know, within the region, but not implicating all 13, or if it's local and doesn't really have a regional value to it. And there's some criteria that were used to figure out whether or not something is regional or not. And there's some scores and some numbers. Those of you that have been, you know, right in on this, paying attention to it, would know what I'm talking about here. But if, in essence, if an asset or an amenity scores really high related to those criteria, then it is something that could be considered a regional level amenity. If it scores fairly high, but not, you know, super high, then it's possibly a sub-regional. And if it's lower, under 60% of the available points, then it's a local. So there's a structured, quantifiable way to figure out whether a project, an amenity within a project, is actually regional, sub-regional, or local. When it comes to the actual cost sharing formula, so if something's sub-regional or regional, then this formula would apply. Couple of key points here. One is it's about cost sharing, but it's also about responsibility sharing. You don't really hear that second term that much in these conversations, but what that means is if, say, you as an entity are contributing to a project, or if there's another entity contributing to your project, it's not just a financial transaction, because that doesn't help the partner, whoever's contributing, be able to justify that investment back to their taxpayers and to demonstrate the value that they get for that investment. So the responsibility part is kind of a two-way street. One is whoever's getting the contribution has to help the contributor demonstrate value, explain why it's a good idea and why it's, you know, helping the situation and helping residents in the entire region. But also whoever's contributing should have some kind of proportionate say or influence over the, you know, what that amenity looks like. So cost and responsibility sharing is an important element, because there are some responsibilities that those who receive contributions have to live up to. In essence, like, these are, it gets a little bit complicated in terms of the formulas, but for regional projects, the cost sharing formula is based on a 20 and a 40-minute drive time catchment. So there's a calculation that can be done, like a GIS sort of calculation that's done to figure out how far away 20 minutes is and how far away 40 minutes is. So those create blankets, and within those blankets of coverage, there's a 50-50 split of population within those blankets and assessment within those blankets. And that's how the cost share is calculated for each of the entities that would contribute. The regional needs assessment comes into play because it helps us figure out how much of that cost should actually go to the host entity where the asset's located, like the owner. How much of that cost should be shaved off right off the top before any cost sharing formulas kick in. And if it's a high regional priority, only 85% of the cost goes to the owner. I say only, it's still a significant amount. That means there's 15% left to share through the cost sharing formula of the municipal amount. And if it's a low regional priority, then 95% of the cost goes to the host entity first. So if it's on the lower end of that needs assessment, only 5% of the total cost gets put through this formula and kind of implicates all the different entities that are within 20 or 40 minutes. And if it's the highest priority, only 15% of that cost gets attributed to the cost sharing formula. And what happens at that point is the host municipal or the host entity is still part of that calculation of cost sharing. So their population and their assessment is still included. So they probably still end up paying over half in most cases of what that extra 5 to 15% is. And then the other entities are kind of brought along for the ride at that point. And the sub-regional level kind of works the same way, only it's just 20 minutes. So it doesn't have as big of a blanket, if you will. And it still has to, the host entity still has to kind of demonstrate value, and they're still having to show alignment with regional need. And it's still that 85 to 95% that's attributed to the host entity off the top. So it's a bit kind of complicated. Hopefully, either from what you've heard already up to this point or the explanation I just gave makes it clear to you how the cost sharing would actually work. But that is in essence how any dollar amounts would be calculated. And then on this page, it just talks about what those responsibilities would be of whoever's receiving the funds, back to those contributors or partners to a project. There is a process that's outlined in here of how things would work on an annual basis. There's also, this image specifically says not every project has to go through this collaboration framework. Like there could be projects that involve more than one entity that don't even want to go through this collaboration framework, that say we can handle this on our own. But if either one entity or a number of entities want to propose a project for consideration, then that's where this whole kind of process, three-step process kicks in. It starts with the submission of a business case and planning around a capital project, and that would be given to the infrastructure committee. And it has to not only demonstrate the need and the alignment with regional need in it and what the costs are going to be and everything else, but a best practice here would be for if an entity is planning something that's going to be proposed for regional collaboration, that it does involve the other entities that could be implicated. So we can't say for sure that will always happen, but we've used fairly strong language in here that says it should happen. So there should be no surprises, and there should be, if you as an entity are looked upon as a contributor to a project, there should have been some dialogue with your residents possibly, or some rationale and justification that you'd be part of before you're posed with that question, or that, I guess, contribution that should be made. We did include the potential for an entity to opt out. There's always the potential for that. There'd have to be good excuses for an entity to opt out. Like maybe their situation isn't the same as the regional situation in terms of the need for that amenity. Maybe their financial situation is such that could put them into a really difficult financial position, that commitment that'd be required. Whatever it is, there's two checkpoints for opting out. One would be at the regional level, like within the Southeast, and in dialogue with the host entity that's asking for support through the framework. There could be some ability for that host entity or whoever's involved in the project to say, okay, we get it. You're not able to participate. It's okay if you opt out. If that conclusion can't be arrived at, and one wants to opt out and everybody and the others don't want to let them opt out, then it would have to go to the local governance commission for some kind of decision. And that's where I kind of alluded to this before. I've seen government intervention like that, or dispute resolution, and that's where I want to just reiterate where I've seen that happen. And I can give you a number of examples. I've seen the award not make sense from my perspective, not make sense in the way that this framework makes sense. And that's not meant to necessarily scare you, but it is a risk that would be in play if you don't, as a region, agree to something like this and put it in place to put some parameters around what that award could look like if it goes to a dispute resolution. Almost done here. Actually, I'm just going to say I'm done. The summary and implementation is here. It just talks about how everything would work, how we'd revisit performance of this back to the board. And then there's a bunch of appendices here. So this is the benefits of collaboration. There's an outline of the different research that we looked at. There's a terms of reference for the committee, evaluation matrix for the business cases and the regional or sub-regional or local scoring, what the business case should look like in terms of agreement, if agreement was struck. And then there's the voting protocol for how this could all go down in terms of voting at the board table and so on. So I don't know, I hope that was quick enough, but also gave you enough information and was informative. If it was redundant, then that just means I guess we did a good presentation, or you've been paying attention along the way. But if it was new information, that's exactly why I guess all three of us are here, is to help you through this process and the decision making around whether or not to support it or not. So I'll turn it back over to Mark and he'll conclude. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, Mike. As you can see, there's been a lot of thought and effort looking at, what could really work for the Southeast region, taking in consideration different sized communities, as Mayor Campbell mentioned. So a lot of time and effort has been put in place, and it's good to get continuous comments and feedback to continue making sure it meets the needs of the communities and residents. On that note, Mayor Campbell, anything else you wanted to mention?
Or just one.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say Rob Campbell. Sorry, Jim.
Timothy Campbell.
Yeah, I think
I think he's Scotch.
I got a little bit of both of me there, Jim. Just to reiterate kind of what Mike said as he went through, on that private institution part of it, I think I want to give just an example so that people really understand that. That could be an educational institution like a university in an area that wanted to bring forward a big field house or an arena or something like that, all entities right across the board, we wanted to have the mechanism in place to be able to ensure that didn't come forward without a host entity, because again, I just want to assure the folks there on the Albert that, from a rural perspective, we looked at all the angles to ensure those protections in place to protect particularly rural areas in this, and just wanted to call that out.
Thank you, sir. Mark.
Yep.
When is the commission going to vote on this?
Well, the thought that we had, based on the dialogue that we had at our board working session, was that we would organize, for some elected officials or members of administration that want more details, have that presentation on April 9th. So again, it's going to be a presentation like today, kind of providing an overview for those that want to have that opportunity. And right. I guess the thought was to include it on the agenda of the kind of annual general meeting, we call it, of the commission. And that meeting is held on April 28th. Like that's the date that's in the calendar. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I want the council to be aware so they can be prepared and give me some guidance. Questions, council? Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll start and open up. So I did have the privilege, Mark, to hear a little bit about this at the mayor's retreat roughly about a year ago. So it's all kind of coming back to me now. But I guess, I see some benefits, and also I have to acknowledge that there is probably more fear in me than there is acceptance at this point. I guess representing Ward 6, which is probably the highest tax base in Fundy, Albert. And, we thought living closer to the town was a benefit, but I'm not sure if it is at this case or not, because I am within 3 to 4 minutes from the town of Riverview, 5 minutes from the city of Moncton. So based on your formula, it sounds to me that, you know, if that host, which was within 20 minutes of me, would probably get me quite far. So I am nervous about that. So I guess we'll wait to see what that actually comes, but those are my opening comments right now is that, you know, we've already seen a large increase in our tax rate over the last 4 years, and I can only imagine what this might do. So very cautious going into this.
Yeah, no, fair comments for sure. And I think you all understand, like, the way that that would be determined is we can actually go kind of on almost a house by house basis, you know, when you're looking at that 20-minute radius. So it's because some communities ask that question, right? If it touches 3 houses in our community, does it force all of our municipality to cost share? So it's really only kind of like the portion that would be included in that radius. And that might not alleviate any of your comments, but the other comment is in terms of, as Mike mentioned in the presentation, the amounts here, we really want to make sure we're protecting the adjacent communities on putting like kind of a cap amount that's only, you know, a portion of the capital contribution. And as well, you know, we would work through with the communities participating what that payment term would look like. So it might be, even if it's, you know, we know for some communities, even a small amount is a big, you know, is a significant amount in their budget. So that could be, you know, on a number of years as well. So those are all provisions that that are in place kind of to minimize the impact as best as possible. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
Can I add to Kim's, I think I just wanted to add, Kim, you're not off base. Every community, this is one of the hardest topics that has come forward as part of the reform process and the downloaded services. It's one, I think when they allude to it's taking 2 years to go through. Keep in mind that if you look at other parts of the province, whether it be the St. John region, that, you know, whether you have St. Martin's paying for an arena and from a convention center and all those type of things, we had the ability as a board at the time. This is why I think we all shared that fear. We had a list from the province that was going to be infrastructure cost shared from the outset, whether it be the Avenir Center and the curling rink and a lot of the different things. Through good conversation at the board level, that was all removed, and we were allowed to do a blank slate to come up with this format that's here today. So I don't often give government credit, but at the end of the day, they did allow us to create our own destiny versus having, you know, have it done to us type of a thing. So, but we all share the exact same fears, Kim. And I think one of the things, and definitely Mike and Mark step in, that's why we put in the fact that, again, we will learn from this as we go along. This is not a one and done scenario. So whatever you see there today, as a project comes forward, because even around the table, none of us could even think of a project that is going to come forward. I can speak for Salisbury. We plan on doing a recreation center in our community at one point someday, but we have no plans on doing anything as far as making a cost share with our neighboring communities. But if another community came forward with something, that would be a lesson learned would be done after that. And if modifications have to take place, we would do that. So, yeah, I just wanted to reassure on that, but I do want to go back to what you said about there can be some benefits. An idea on that would be even the regional trail system that's being talked about right now. On that, Salisbury as an example, you know, we were 100% in support of that, although we may be the last community that ever sees a trail that comes through our community, but we did see the broader good for the entire region on it. So I do think there is the opportunity for communities to talk about things, and this gives it. So, but I 100% understand where you're at.
Go ahead.
I appreciate your comments there that, you know, right now in the future, you're planning on building, but you're not planning on asking. But that's while you're interim, right? So the fear is always going to be what comes after you, right?
Yeah, then that's your thing on. Yep.
Yep. And my fear a little bit here in Fundy Albert is we're still working out what are shared assets within our municipality before we start bringing in Riverview, Moncton and Salisbury. So, you know, I'm not 100% convinced that the timing is perfect on this. when some municipalities are still struggling from the amalgamation. And this just adds another layer onto it, I believe.
Yeah, no, I can 100% reflect on it. I realize Kim was there representing the clerk's office at the meeting about a year ago. I guess maybe Mike and Mark can talk about this a little bit, but eventually, and whatever the deadline will be, eventually government will put in we'll be putting in something regardless. So whatever gets put into place, it could be by government, as happened in the St. John region, or it can happen by the board, which then can be modified by. Obviously we have an election coming up. Who knows how many of us all will be here in the future. I guess that's kind of from our perspective. We believe we've crafted the best possible scenario. To Mike's point, it probably, a game changer across Canada that other people will look at. Is it ideal? No, none of us want this downloaded on us. But let me put it to you this way. If in the future, if all 12 mayors in the rural district after an election, we all come together, we talk about things, we build the relationships, we can all make a mutual agreement, what I just talked about, that none of us are going to come forward with anything on that, but we're still satisfying the government needs. It's not perfect by any means. I 100% agree, but I'd rather have it done by us than done to us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I might just add one thing to it, because I was just thinking back to how I explained the cost sharing thing, and I don't know how clear it was. So sorry if it was confusing, but I would be able to summarize it by saying the municipality or the entity that has a project that you might be tagged into, they're going to have to pay for probably at least 90% of the municipal contribution on their own. So I don't mean to say that the other 10% spread across the other municipalities or entities isn't a lot of money, because it still could be, but they need to make a affordability decision on their own that pays for almost all of it, which is, again, way less than I've seen being awarded in a dispute resolution, or that's still way less than any other cost sharing agreements that are in place that I could share with you. They're all substantially more than that. So they'd have to pay for the 90% first, or you would if you were proposing a project, and then the other 10% of municipal contribution gets spread across the entire region with that formula. And those are net costs after any kind of national or federal or provincial contribution is made to a project. So again, anything is going to affect your taxes. I get that 100%, and it's a big deal. And that's a common thing that I hear now is we need to keep affordability down. But the risk, I guess, of a really intense shock to your taxation from collaboration, I think, is minimized with a framework like this, as opposed to something that either is based on, if I did my job by just showing you a bunch of other agreements that I know about, the amounts would be more than this for sure. And also, if any sort of history holds, award through dispute resolution would be significantly higher than this. So I don't there's an element of this that sounds like kind of trying to scare you into it, and that's not necessarily the case, but it is a way to put some goalposts around what your potential exposure is by putting something in place instead of having nothing in place at all.
And just to compliment and thanks Mike and Mayor Rob Campbell, those are really good comments, and all these comments might help, answer other questions that some elected officials might have. The other item that can also be considered is if a community, is really in a difficult position financially, for example, or a specific ward. Those are all comments and feedback that could be included on why, kind of the rationale on why a community wants to opt out or chooses not to participate. And at the end of the day, if the host community is supportive of that, of picking that portion up, that's all right. Or if not, those would all be considered by the local governance commission as well. So that would all be considerations that could be included in that submission. So there's a lot of opportunities for a community that is not supportive to participate, to provide their comments, feedback, and to kind of have that considered.
If I may, Mark, thank you. If there's 3 or 4 communities that have projects that are fairly large and we opt into this, who makes a decision of what's prioritized? Or if they all go forward at once and we're on the hook for 4 different projects?
Yeah, no, those are really good questions. So I think part of this process that's really going to help the region and all the communities is we have by December 31st of every year, usually communities have like their budget process done and all of that. So we're asking each of the 13 communities to submit their list of sports, recreation, and culture projects that they kind of have on the radar for the next 5 years. And we're also asking each community to identify if there's any of those projects or amenities that they plan to submit for kind of like regional cost sharing. So we'll know all of that in advance, where now we don't necessarily know, right? We read that in the news, oh, this community is planning that project or so on. So I think that's an important element that will help the region. And in terms of if for 1 year there's a number of projects that come all at the same time, that would really be a prioritization session that would include the board. And in our process, we're also including circulating all of that information to each of the individual councils across the region. So there's a lot of opportunity for the councils to all have their comments and feedback, provide some thoughts to their board member, kind of the mayor, when they come back to the commission.
I'm gonna just add on to that, Mark, and again, I'll go back to what was talked about on proximity to maybe some of the bigger centers that does get scary. Salisbury is the exact same way. We're right next to the biggest city in the province. But this was talked about. I just want to, reassure the council and the clerk's office that this was talked about. I brought it up, exactly what was said. On one project in itself may not be that big a deal. It may be something we actually totally support. But if you start to stack on multiple projects, then all of a sudden it can become a financial burden. And that's where we talked about as a group, and I will give credit to our neighboring communities on that they recognize that. And we also talked about collectively as a group on what $90,000 may mean to Salisbury versus the city of Moncton and Riverview. $90,000 for us is a penny tax increase. So we did talk about that to ensure there's the awareness that we all talk about things around the table. That's why around that table becomes so important from a relationship perspective. But we talked exactly what you said, the stackability of it all. And that's why we ensured it was built into this format, that opt-out process. And on that opt-out, to be able to put in the rationale on why we're opting out. Because if you just looked at it, you're bang on. If you looked at it, well, Fundy Albert can afford this, but when you start to tack on all the other things, or Salisbury, it doesn't make sense and you can't afford it. So those are the things that we want to ensure we're there to protect ourselves. Now, again, around that, I have confidence around the table. We will work collaboratively together, but I'll get back into it. So we're only as good as the right now and in the future, but that's why those safety nets were put into place.
Thank you.
I will say that in the working session, we had some really good, hard conversations, and we all came away with the same feeling that this is probably the best deal we're going to get if the province brings it in. But I certainly am going to rely on council for your input and where we go with this.
I was just like with Dad, Mayor Campbell, that these safety nets put in place for smaller communities like yourselves and us. This is very important. I was looking at this as Fundy Albert. When we're 20 minutes away from Moncton, the biggest city. And this looks to me like a perfect way of money to be funneling out of Fundy Albert and nothing ever coming in. So I think we need to be very, very careful moving forward on this whole project.
You're bang on. Actually, if you had been in the rooms over the last 2 years, I think Mike and Mark, we have a deja vu around, if this happens there and we have to contribute towards it, that means we won't have any funding to be able to put the same facility within our own community. So we all talked about that, and I think that's why even and Mike, you can talk about across Canada and even around the province, why those higher percentages were put into place on a lot of the mechanisms around it. Doesn't not saying trying to force other communities to even think about it, but it doesn't make sense for I'll use the city of Moncton or to start doing that, because at the end of the day, they give up control as well when they start to do the cost sharing and the partnerships. And I'll go back to the beginning when the Avenir Center and several other places were on that list. The city of Moncton, they could have played Big Brother on the way to voting, and they could have pushed that all through at the time, and they didn't, because at the time they would still had to give up control on how they operate, how we all manage things together collaboratively. So we definitely never can lose sight of that. Again, but that's why Mike and Mike, I'll say that a lot. That's why having that database, that asset plan on what we have in place, on what constitutes regional versus sub-regional, what's a need versus a want. That's why it's so important to have that. There's very few facilities, and again, we sat around as a board, and Jim would have been there, that any of us could think of that would actually constitute coming forward that's not already existing in this region today. So it would have to be something very meaningful to come forward on it that should have an impact, whether it be Salisbury, Fundy Albert, Straight Shores. There should be that impact there, and you should have to be able to tangibly show that impact. So again, I'm not saying it's not out there, but we couldn't think of it.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, I agree. If you guys if there's something that you guys need in your community, that has to take priority over money going into another community.
I've just got a quick question, Mayor Rob. So for instance, someone builds a piece of infrastructure in Riverview, we're tagged part of that 15% or whatever. Will there be agreements between the municipalities on how that moves forward? So for instance, a seat on the board, will there be a review in 3 or 4 years to see what the usage are? Will there be able to negotiate user fees? These are the things that I'm thinking about. So have those things been broached at all?
I'm going to start with, and then I'm going to pass it over to Mike and Mark. The hope in the case when you mentioned Riverview is a good example, because we'd be equally in the same boat. The case of these sub-regional models, the hope would be that the entities would get together on their own and craft up some kind of an agreement before it ever come to the board, to be able to validate that. I'll get back into the ongoing operate end of things with Mark and Mike on that.
So Sean and Mike might want to add, and thanks, Mayor Rob Campbell, for your comments. So Sean, on that, the thought would be, if Fundy Albert, for example, is going to provide a contribution, that before the contribution is finalized, you would know exactly what you're going to have in return. So as you mentioned, is that on the governance side? Is that preferred access to your residents to use that facility? Can they, register in advance for special lessons or courses or things like that? So the community, adjacent community that's contributing would know kind of those details would be worked out in that contribution agreement. Mike, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I want to just go back to the actual amounts that the formula translates to. In a lot, like the regional contributions to a project aren't going to be significant enough to make or break a project. So the host entity is already going to have, a really strong financial plan in place to build whatever it is they're planning to build, big or small project. And I could actually see, again, because the amounts are so much smaller than I've seen elsewhere. Again, I don't want to demean them too much, but they are fairly small in terms of the overall project costs. That some entities may choose not to even engage regionally because of these other responsibilities that they have. And I just think that even though that's probably lost in everybody's perspective here, I think that is a real possibility that some may choose not to even pursue regional collaboration.
Yeah, you hit it bang on, Mike. I think because I heard it from a few of the bigger entities around the amount of administration, the amount of to deal with that, around ensuring that they didn't even want to get involved in that. I even know when the initial list was put forward by government back 3 years ago, there was one entity that looked at it and just said, no, just take that off the list, because we don't have the time or patience to be able to deal with ensuring that, we reserve X amount of spots for another community and everything else.
All that. Yeah, it's baggage that might not be worth it, for sure. And The other thing that I would say, just listening to the conversation and hearing this similar, similar comments throughout this whole process and everywhere else I'm working, is there are a couple different relationships here. One is the relationship between the province and the entities. And the provincial and entity relationship is unique because the province has problems too. They got affordability problems, whatever else. I don't know what problems they have. They have lots, but they don't have the same problems that the entities have, right? Like they have different services they offer. It's just a different organization. So that relationship is part of why this feels icky, because they're involved in it and they're saying you have to have this collaboration and we're going to make you have this and all that. The other relationship though is between entities. And even though it's different being a major urban and a smaller rural, you're still having local government issues that you're dealing with. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that none of the entities in the region want to increase their taxes significantly. Like it's probably not the case. I haven't heard that yet in your region. Maybe there's one that wants to do it, but or that there isn't that kind of financial conscience to keep taxes down. And I think that just the fact that you're in the same situation, even though the context might be a little bit different, I think there's a little bit of a sort of a control or a commonality there that's put in place that means nobody's going to do anything irrational or irresponsible now. And if they do, there's going to be enough rationality around the table with 13 different entities that it won't get to the point where some irrational project is going to have a big impact on anybody through this framework. Like I think there's almost like a check and balance built into it because of the fact that you're dealing with it's entity to entity interaction and you have similar issues. Don't get me wrong. I know it's way different being a rural dispersed than it is a really dense urban, but I just think that part of the uncomfortableness of this whole conversation has to do with the provincial and entity relationship. And that's seems like it's a foregone conclusion in terms of how it relates to this situation. And it's not something that's up for grabs, but the entity to entity, I think, is another kind of risk mitigation in this whole conversation that even if it's not Mayor Campbell, if it's a different Campbell that's the mayor or whatever, I think there's some reasonableness that will always be in place here, at least for the time being, that will mitigate some of the risks or the uncertainty around this.
Ask one more question. Go ahead. So take for instance, Riverview builds $1 million pool. We're within that 20-minute sweet spot. What is the percentage that we would be required to pay of that $1 million pool? So that'd be 15%, 150,000. So that 150,000 would have to come from general operating. Because you can't...
Sean, that amount would not be that amount would not be that. No, it's
First
because
of all, you have to look at small, medium, and large. You need to look at whether or not it's a required facility within. I mean, you can use that example, but you'd have to actually use that's infrastructure needed by.
And the 15% would be distributed across the whole region.
If it happens in Riverview, it's happening to Salisbury as well.
Yeah. So
including the host community population and tax base.
Yeah, it's probably closer to like 1 or 2%, but we have some examples that were provided, which I can try to fish out here, or we can provide to you after the meeting that explain it. But it's not that 150,000 would be a cost share amount through the framework, but it would be attributed to everybody, including Riverview, based on population and assessment. So just in general, if you think about how many people you have compared to that whole, say, 20-minute catchment area around wherever that project would be, it would be that percentage roughly of 150,000.
So it'd be a fairly low number.
It's fairly low. It's still, again, I don't want to, because every amount is significant, right? But
I love the question, Sean. Like we've asked all these exact same questions, and I gotta admit I lost them a little bit one time when I hadn't quite figured out what they just told us. I admit it. I overreacted, but because I looked at it and went, "You're telling me that." But that's why this is all good. We're all this, and again, I think Jim would say it. This has been a Nikki conversation around the table. Mayor Arnold, prior to her going to the Senate, she would have said, "We have the most collaborative, gold standard area in the province. How we work together." She said this has the potential to rip this whole region apart if not done properly, collaboratively, putting something in place that has, again, not perfect by any means, but the point would be that we needed to have something in place to potentially, because it could have ripped this area apart. And I think the best thing I liked from the meeting we had a little while ago was we'll continue to modify it to try to not force, but how do we look for mechanisms that if we go through one, that we can modify to put additional safety nets or additional mechanisms in. And again, I'm not, again, this is not Mike and Mark by any means, but if I get reelected or if other mayors get reelected, I already know there's a commonality on, we can put together a mutual agreement among our mayors that for 4 years we could put a moratorium on. None of us are bringing forward a project while we figure this all out. And I'm pretty confident that could happen, but I can't guarantee it. If you think about, the pool as an example was brought up, Riverview's already putting in a $40 million or whatever it's come out to by the time they're done. It's already happening. There's already an Avenir Center. There's already so again, getting back into that asset, that's why it was so important when they built that asset database around what's a want versus a need in the area. Again, I want to, like, if in my grand scheme of things, if I was the province, I'd want Fundy Albert to have something that they need versus paying for something in another area that our folks have to drive to. That the reality isn't let's say the same thing. We argued about the drive time, the 20 and 40 minutes. But in reality, when your roads and bridges are closed, it's not a real 20 to 40 minutes because we never know if those are actually going to be available and open. So we've had those conversations, and I think we'll all continue to have them. But we are only as good as the leaders that are there today, and we don't know what we're going to face with the bigger cities if they have a change in leadership. I think rural areas are always going to, I can confidently say if I'm not here tomorrow, whoever's the mayor of Salisbury is going to feel equally the same as I do. I'm pretty confident on that. I'm sure that the same thing would be said for Fundy Albert or Straight Shores or any of the rural areas. We all understand it.
Okay. Anybody else? I thank you very much for your time and doing this presentation for us. It's important that our council understand what we're going to vote on the 25th, and I'm sure if they have any questions, Mark, they can probably reach out to you again. So
yep, not a problem. You know where to find me.
I do, sir. I do. And to Rob and Mike, go out and find some green beer and have a really good evening.
Sounds good. Thanks. Nice to see everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks.
We need a little recess. Okay, can we have a motion to go on recess? Motion by Council Ward, second by Council Alderkin. All in favor?
Aye.
You go. Motion to come out of recess. The phone, seconder, we're at Alderkin. Any questions? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Ed, did you information items, Fundy National Park. Which update?
I shared what they sent me for their winter 2026 updates.
Okay, thank you. Council direction request. Council Chambers audio visual proposal.
That is me.
That is you.
So this report provides council with 2 quotes received for council chambers audio visual system. The purpose of the system is to improve audio quality, allow recording and live streaming of meetings, and modernize the meeting setup. I reached out to 4 companies and received 2 proposals. The first proposal is from Ivan's Audio Visual for a team turnkey council chamber system that includes digital microphones for council staff, a camera for recording and live streaming, a 75-inch display, wireless presentation capability, integrated audio system and touchscreen control. The total cost for the system is $43,395 plus HST. The second estimate was received from Creative Innovation, which focuses more on a video production setup with multiple cameras and switching equipment, with pricing between $36,471 and $46,490, depending on configuration. So administration is recommending the Ivans audio visual proposal because it is designed specifically for council meetings. It's simpler to operate and provides a complete turnkey solution, including installation and training. Funding for this would come from $32,000 already budgeted for office equipment, with the remaining to be funded from shared capital. Questions, concerns?
I can't wait.
Me too.
Great
Because
idea.
there's a lot of complaints.
Yeah. It's necessary. You know, sure.
I just know some stuff. I read the fires before.
Thank you. Highly recommended
Yeah.
by other municipalities, and he was very thorough, not a complaint.
Utilities gap analysis.
Yeah, good evening, that one's from me. Utilities gap analysis report form is recommended that we approve the proposal provided by Anglo to conduct a utilities gap and capacity analysis. What this will give us is, it will provide the data that we need to confidently understand how many extra services we could get onto a system, where our pinch points are, for where we can do more development, or where we'll have to provide more infrastructure upgrade, and we could do such a thing. I've discussed this at length with Dave Crandall from the Service Commission, in understanding what the best approach for this is, and his recommendation was to use an engineering firm that is familiar with the systems, to ensure that we're not using half of our budget to pay an engineering company that's never seen the system before to get familiar with it. That's why we've got this Anglo, because they've operated on all three systems, and they were the ones that did the latest asset management plan. So they have the latest detail about where all the systems are at this stage. In terms of funding, this is to be funded through the 2024 CCBF allocation, to a value of $189,500.
Council, any questions? Comments?
I do.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Ian. Thanks for putting this together. Question is. We have a water operator that we're paying decent money. They know our system as well as Englobe. Couldn't they put some of this stuff put together, so we know, like, if, say Hillsborough has 10 new houses, we're gonna be able to accommodate that 10 new houses on our water system. Like, I would think they would know what the flow rates are and how much is, all that kind of stuff, right? Is that something they can do?
I would say this is an engineer who needs to do this, not a water operator in charge. They don't generally have the skills to.
That seems like a lot of money just to say that, you know, you gotta water, they're gonna do this. That's still a grant.
That's for all three water
That's for
systems.
all three water
That's
systems.
actually a very good deal.
And it's not just a matter of going, how much we're producing, how much is that taking, it's if we wanted to expand 1,000 homes, where they sit now. If we wanted to, where within the system is that going to be most efficient for us to expand from? So you could say you want to expand out that way, but when you look at the system, it may say, well, no, actually the most efficient way to actually expand it is that way, all to do with the system and where the capacities are. It should also inform us as well about the current state of the systems and where our priorities should sit with upgrading certain elements of it to ensure that we most efficiently position ourselves to expand.
It'll also help with capital planning for the future, because I do believe everyone wants some growth. So this is a really important project in terms of growth down the road. And so
The infrastructure we got in the ground is a whole,
very, very old.
and that's gonna be the first thing that's gonna happen, fix before we do anything. There's clay pipes still in there.
I'm sure there's wooden pipes still on
I think the last came out of Riverside, the last project.
Not here. Still here.
Yeah.
And then you. That's, it's,
Just a couple of questions. See that you've gone to Englobe. Have you gone to anybody else to get a quote?
I approached Dave Crandall, the Southeast Regional Service Commission first, because he got knowledge about our systems and asked him what do you think the best value approach for this would be. So I do appreciate there has been comments in the past about having somebody that is completely new to the system. However, he suggested that could take probably 3 to 4 weeks and, you know, a significant amount of the budget just for them to come in and learn the system before they even started looking at, you know, what they think or could be the capacity gaps for that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, Englobe is not the right person to do the job, but you really don't have anything to base their quote on or against. So, I would like to see another quote just to confirm that 189.5 is the going rate for a job like this. Just curiosity, when it comes to the 2024 CC VF money, how much money is in that fund currently?
Don't have the complete amount that we received that year, but that, for that 2024 allocation, it was fully for that project, plus the next one on that list. So we already have those funds sitting in our bank accounts right now.
You have the full 189.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that doesn't take the whole fund, like there's still money in that fund? Cause there was other projects that
So
were,
it goes from 24 to 28.
Mhm.
We received funds for. So for that year, we received over $315,000. That would sit there for the project, the next project that's set, that would require. I'll quickly bring up our schedule. Just well, she's doing that, may I ask a question? What's the time frame of having this completed?
It would be complete this year, like the summer months.
So it's gonna take 6 months? Is that what we're thinking? 4 months, 3 months?
Probably close to 4 months and 6 months, 6 months.
So for 2024, 189.5. Was for the utility gap analysis. And for the remainder of the 315,000 that was dedicated to 2024 is contributing to the Fundy View Drive new storm pipe along that road. So the quote came in at exactly what we allocated it? Yes. Well, they had provided. They had provided us the numbers last year to complete this. Oh, to complete our 2024-2028 community building fund capital plan. Yep. So they haven't increased the rate since they first gave us the quote for these project costs.
So it wasn't one of those things of how much do you have? That's the much it is.
That's already discussed, what it's gonna cost for you.
maybe that's why we didn't vote.
Yeah. Anybody else? So we will get a second vote. Thank you. For F-550 dump body.
Yeah, that's me again.
Yes, sir.
This council proposal is to recommend the council approve the sale of the 2012 F-550 dump body, not legal. As per the disposal policy, it is estimated to be above the CAO's sale value. Because it'll be more than $5,000. As you see on the council report form, we got a few estimates what it'd be worth from around the online. And it's just a recommendation that council approves it, we can move forward and sell it.
And with a reserve on it,
Yes,
We can put a reserve on, yes.
but that's what you've been,
yeah, there is
Yeah,
a reserve
you're
on there. I think we get $5,000 on
Yeah.
the council report form.
There's some people around that'd probably be interested in that truck. Go ahead.
Does it have to, is your only source of viewing this would be on Facebook, social, or is there other avenues that we could use? So I think I did read that
You
you're
should
just,
be able to come and see the truck.
well, no, but like, where are you gonna advertise this at?
As key things would be the village website and Facebook Marketplace, just quite a broad reach.
So you are going on Marketplace, it's not just not your,
Post.
that's what I'm, that's the way I,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a Facebook post. So you are putting it,
Yeah, Marketplace, not just a
Okay.
post. You get quite a broad reach on that.
so that's different
And
than
it's
just a
free.
post, yeah.
And it's free.
A lot of you smell it, you use it.
Anything else? Okay. Shoreline Trail, Drybrook Bridge.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
This one is recommended that council approve that we commit to completing this project this year. It has come forward this early before I've got any confirmation of any sponsorship or donors to support it. Due to the fact that with the means that you can get cancelled later on because of the elections and the fact that Trans Canada Trail require a confirmation for the village that we will commit to the balance of the project by May 1st. Trans Canada Trail has said they will fund $25,000 worth of the project, which is just under 40%, which leaves us in the region as a village to cover the final 38. I'm confident that I believe I can get up to half of that amount through in-kind sponsorship and things like that. However, I can't guarantee that at this time. A lot of the conversations I've had are very much like Trans Canada Trail is, once we see it's a committed project, we'll sit down seriously and start discussing it and see what we can give you. Yeah, we've got to just commit to it to get that $25,000 from Trans Canada Trail. If we don't get that 25,000, even just to replace a footbridge with the additional work is in the region of what we'd be paying anyway, because of two rough estimates I've had, about $30,000 for a bridge, and not including the groundworks on the banks to fix it. So either way, we'd be spending about that kind of money.
That trail's used a lot.
It is used a lot, it's missed, you know, I definitely missed it to be able to do that loop. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, if we're gonna pay 38,000, anyway, we might as well commit to it, get the 25 and do it right. It seems like,
Yeah, the plan is to try and make it more of a destination rather than just a footbridge over the work.
Counselor,
If I may, what are we getting for the project? What's entailed in that 63%?
On the project proposal as part of the council package, the 63,000 will include the engineering to ensure that we set up the banks and put the bridge correctly. Installation of the footbridge, of which the discussion I've been is having either a miniature covered bridge or something kind of historically similar to Ellsworth. It would include establishing a picnic site adjacent to the bridge and also improving the parking area just outside of the edge of Golf Club Road to make it more accessible for all users.
So that's where you're gonna pay, is the parking lot?
Just that little edge there by the little trail.
So it'll be a covered bridge basically,
That's kind of what we're looking towards.
but you haven't got the design on it.
I've had some rough pictures, not an actual design. So.
Counselor?
Yeah, I do see the importance of it as well. I guess where I struggle a little bit, if anybody that drives up and down the streets in Fundy Albert, they need some serious work. And the fact that we're looking at putting a parking lot in for $10,000, are we spending it in the right places? And I get, it does need to be fixed. I've walked the trail myself. It's beautiful. But again, is having an asphalt parking lot at a trailhead as important as some of the streets that we're driving on every day?
Again, that won't come out of the Solaris maintenance project.
Pardon me?
The cost for asphalt won't come out of some of these maintenance budget.
I understand that, but the money is coming from Fundy Albert. Right?
Yes.
So,
So can we keep it gravel and use the
Yeah.
10,000 on some streets?
Well, to get the full 25,000 from Trans Canada Trail, the project will have to come to a value of 63,500. So yes, we could grab that
You
and then use that
still-
balance.
You still gotta spend that much on that trail to get the 25,000.
okay,
Okay, that makes sense.
If it's all tied together, that's a,
yeah,
Yeah, that's a different,
that's a different animal.
you can't take 10
Right.
and lose 25.
No.
And we've had some interest from some local suppliers to provide some in-kind things, whereby we can issue a charitable receipt to them. So I know Ian's going working on that as well, so we think we're gonna have some good community.
So how does that affect this whole project? If you're getting 25 from Trans-Canada Trail and they want the 38 in there. That money, if you pick up in time, where's that going?
We can use that against the 38,000.
So the money you're gonna save with that 38, where's that end up? Because if you're gonna get in kind, right, you're gonna have extra money in the project.
Yeah, but it's just an accounting. You know what I mean?
I know what I mean, but there's extra money coming in the system, is what I'm
well,
saying.
there's less money going in. That's the key. There's less money going out.
Not more coming in.
Right.
Same time.
Right. So say the project costs 63, they get 25 from this and 10 from somebody else. You know, we're not paying out the 38, we're only gonna pay out the 20.
And if, yeah, somebody gives you a load of gravel, you're getting a receipt for it.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in using that, who said that,
Yeah,
ensure the status a lot more.
I just thought you might be adding to the project, make it bigger, or taking that money from some of those up.
I wish.
Okay. But it's going back in the coffers, right?
Yeah.
So it will be used somewhere.
Somewhere else.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
So I see the benefit in seeing why we're doing this, but just a quick question. We are in the third month of the year, and this was not budgeted for. So I'm just curious why this was not budgeted.
I was working with Trans Canada Trail to see what they would give us before.
So you didn't know that.
Timing issue, like we have a lot of those.
I've been working with Trans Canada Trail on this since about September last year, and I only got the letter about a month or so ago.
And so do we know where that money would be taken from at this point? That difference, the 38,
2 seconds.
38 something, 38.
He's in the council report for, yeah. Okay, actually, I can't even say it was, I think it's Hillsborough.
I think we recommended Hillsborough now.
800.
It's, I don't want to spill all the way back up. I'm sure.
Just the 3 minutes.
Yeah. Could be accommodated through existing Hillsborough capital funding and the shared British core capital budget. I mean, either or then could have covered that whole cost.
And we're also working with RTC, a contribution for that as well.
Well, you gotta go with it, you're gonna get 25,000, you're gonna take it off. Hopefully you get a whole bunch of them done.
And RTC.
Okay. Great. Unbudgeted EXP services.
That would be me. So, late last year, we received an invoice from EXP for support services during our warranty period. As administration, we've kind of contested this as it's warranty and it should not be on us. We've gone back to Gordon a few times and he basically said, when budgeting for engineering services, various assumptions must be made as a result. Services during the period, the project warranty period, are considered as additional fees and can vary depending on the level of effort required. These services are provided as part of the engagement with the municipality and provided on a needed basis. Due to the size of the invoice, my recommendation at this time is that, we pay it and use funds from our transfer to capital budget line within the Riverside Over Water Utility budget. Is there any questions in regards?
I don't think this project's ever gonna end.
Thank you.
Yeah, like this has been ongoing and has caused some serious financial issues for the Riverside Hour Water. I think this is part of the funding that we got from 2 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 3 now, that caused a disruption in our surplus or lack of money in there that caused a surplus without the money. Am I correct?
Yes, this would be the water treatment project.
Yeah, so it just doesn't seem to end, and, you know, I think we're all in agreement during the project process that Riverside Alberta Water and Sewer's got some serious issues coming up in the next budget year. And I am very concerned as a representative of Riverside Alberta and also as a taxpayer. Yeah, I agree the bill has to be paid, but why was the bill so late coming in? Was there any explanation why we're receiving a bill 3 years after the project was completed?
Well, this is warranty work that was completed in the fall.
Yeah, there's some issues with the filters.
Was there not a quote on this project?
We were given a quote for engineering work, but the project manager that it's handling this doesn't see it. It seems to change all the time, and there's no written consent given to us, and that's why we're just want to pay it to complete the project, close the door, and move forward.
But we're back to the same question I've been asking for the last bunch of quotes. You get a quote, you stick to it. Right? So they're coming back looking for another $4,600. It's not a lot of money, but it is, it's a principal package of what, right?
And especially where it was a warranty
Yeah, it's warranty.
failure.
And the project was what, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars?
That one would have been around $500,000.
So he's asking 4,600? Anyways,
No, I'm full support of what council chooses. I'm just looking for some direction. As we've been contesting this for the last few months with them, and I'm just looking for some direction from council.
And I did send direction to Gordon. I said, no work occurs without my authorization. Because like I said, I went down there that day and he was there with the people fixing the filter with the water operator in charge. And I think for 2 months, I went back and forth and just saying, trying to figure out how not to pay this, because I feel it should be covered under warranty. But apparently that's not the case, so there'll be no work done down there by any engineer unless it's authorized by me beforehand.
So they put 28, almost 29 hours is billable hours is what they're sending us.
Yeah,
So,
they're down there for quite a few days.
better part of close to 4 days, and nobody knew they were down there or they were gonna bill us.
We invited them down.
I guess when Heather, when the water operator identified the issue, calls were made. Guy showed up for the warranty, and Gordon was there when I went down.
that's the key word, warranty.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing at all.
But there was no charge for the repair. Other than the engineering.
Under the engineering, it looks like there's no supply cost in this bill.
And the support go along with that.
You pay for labor and mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Can we negotiate that down a bit?
I can go back, where we've identified a few things within the agreement. We're just trying to obtain a signed copy.
Just a question.
Yeah, for me, I think we need to try that and maybe bring it back to council at the next meeting.
We'll have with that. Town council will not pay half of it. Please. Thank you. I know you will.
I didn't, can you share that with the rest of council?
We're gonna go and offer, we're gonna offer them half.
I think that has to come to a vote before you can.
Okay, but
Or you can
my
ask me to
suggestion is that we go back and negotiate this down and offer them half. But right now, we hold them, according to them, $4,600. And I'm saying we should go back and say we'll settle for half. It should have been warranty. Whether they'll do that or not, I don't know.
Well, it should have been warranty and it also should have been brought to our attention.
Exactly.
And if I would have known about it, I would have brought it to your attention.
We've got a problem, we gotta settle, and, so you wanna, vote on it at the next council meeting before we go back to them? Counselor,
Council.
so that's what the question, we vote on it before we go back and offer them half?
Well, I think you can suggest that right now, but it should be an agreed process from council.
Or you can give me direction to go back and negotiate it.
We can do
And
that.
then come back and vote at the April 7th.
I'm, giving you the direction to go do that, and then
I get it.
discuss it at the next council meeting. Thank you very much. Application for financing spring 2026.
Right, that's me again. So, as you're aware, in the spring and the fall is when we receive application for financing to take our short-term debt to and exchange it for our long-term debt, i.e. debenture. So the water systems upgrade has been completed. And we're looking to finance, we can only finance the nearest thousand, so we want to finance the 23,000. And the remaining 29,668 to be funded through operating. The estimated 2026 interest payment for 2026 with the municipal capital board is around $433. I'm recommending that the balance be funded through budget line water supply short-term interest on capital projects. Even with paying these and what we've had for interest to date, it still leaves us with a good chunk of change left in that budget line. For the second one that we'll be sending for a debenture, it's for the buyout of the 2024 Freightliner pumper tanker lease. We've reached out to RBC to get an estimate of what that buyout would be in June, and they're giving us $606,312. This is including net HST and the buyout estimate, plus lease payments remaining from now until June. So we would borrow, the option is to borrow $616,000 and the remaining $633.12 to be funded through operating, as well as the early lease release fees of $950. It is anticipated that approximately 22,000 will be available across the following budget lines to support the operating funded portion of the lease buyout fees, as well as lease payments, and that be for our short-term interest on capital projects, interest on long-term debt, and for cost of selling debenture. These budget lines were specifically budgeted for this lease and debenture buyout. So our recommendation is proceeding with the spring application fee for these two. Do I have any questions?
Council,
I also have a question. Debentures, so what has changed that we're able to apply for debentures again? Because our audit's still not done.
We have received a ministerial order. So once we've received the ministerial order, we can go forward with the debenture, because we've already been approved for that. So it's only when we want to go and apply for a ministerial order that would eventually become a debenture that we can't do at this time.
Right, so when did we get this ministerial, the order?
That would have been in 2024 when we purchased, or. Yeah, 24 when we got the truck.
Right, so why didn't we get the debenture in 2025? Which I thought it was a hang up due to the audit. Is why we didn't get it. That's why there was a panic of going to a lease versus getting the loan.
Cause if we needed a short-term borrowing option, and the short-term borrowing option we were given from the bank was a lease. So we went into that lease because we don't have capability, our bank's not giving us capability for short-term borrowing, so like I can't say, I wanna buy that lease now. I'm gonna use my credit line, we're unable to get a credit line with the bank, this is our option to be able to. Get rid of this short-term borrowing option of a lease and put us into a debenture, which is a lower cost to our constituents.
Absolutely, it is. That's why I asked the question of if we can do it now, why couldn't we do it last year?
Yeah, and it's more to do with the bank not allowing us to have a credit line. That's why Sean had to make negotiations with them to extend the lease.
Right. Okay, thanks for that clarification. The other comment I have is for the resolution that you have here in front of it. I think it just needs to be clear that the remaining 2968 is to be funded through operating it, to make it clear that it is the water and sewer operating fund,
Okay,
not just operating, because that could mean many different things.
for sure, I can definitely make that adjustment for when we meet for council next.
That was it for me.
Anybody else? Okay. Hillsborough sign replacement. Counselor Joe.
And that's me. Welcome to Hillsborough sign had to come down here a while back, beginning of the winter. Due to basically rotted away. This is what happened. I've been asked by many residents where it went, and I will be replacing it. I think, to me and the residents of the village, we have to keep our identity as Hillsborough. If the same thing happened to Riverside, Albert, or Alma, I'd be here recommending the same thing. I think it's important that our former villages do keep their identities. So I'm proposing that a new sign does go up. Option number one is proceed with replacement and community input, which is basically we'd ask the community of Hillsborough what they would like to see for a sign. Maybe there's some motto recommendations, imagery, that kind of thing. Option number two is replace the sign, use just a standard municipal design. Or three, defer replacement, where council would choose not to replace the sign. The recommendation of the council authorize administration to proceed with the replacement of the Hillsborough community entrance sign and conduct a brief community engagement process to gather public input on the design elements of the sign, including potential imagery and community motto, with final design approval to be brought back to council. So that is what I'm proposing today.
One sign or two signs?
Be one sign. One sign coming into Hillsborough from if you're coming from Upland.
And none coming the other way.
There's never been one coming.
Never been?
No, there's just the one that's up there.
Okay. Council? Questions?
And what is the importance of making the sign complicated? By going to the community? What's the advantage of that?
That sign was put there part of a community engagement 26 years ago. And I don't know, I think it's important to let the community have input in what they would like to see, where Hillsborough is today. You know, what's Hillsborough about, To me, White Rock is a very important part of Hillsborough, and it's a destination for many people to come to the village, and but something on that line. What is Hillsborough as of 2026?
I think we just have to keep in mind that the end goal here is White Rock is now a big part of Fundy Albert.
Yes.
Not just of Hillsborough.
Oh, exactly.
So I think as we move forward, we have to continue to try I agree with your sign of welcome to Hillsborough, the same as it was Elmer or Lower Coverdale, they all have.
They all have.
You know, I totally agree with that, but we just have to remember the assets that we have now, they're shared amongst Fundy Albert, not just with Hillsborough.
I just don't want to see Hillsborough leave its identity as the other former villages.
Yep.
That's all.
I'm not disagreeing, we just have to remember that the assets we all have.
Yeah.
That we all once owned are not ours anymore. They're all one.
And we have
And
Ramsey.
we
Fundy
we
Albert.
can't get away from that, so.
However we choose to proceed, I just want to see us proceed.
Yeah.
Tour season's coming, I'd like to see something up there, before tour season.
So I mean, so I can assume if there will be a motion coming to council in a couple weeks. I mean, I would hope there would be some legit quotes at that point that would have some. Price specific, cause I mean, there's a lot of prices on this farm that's all over the place, so. And I mean, yeah, I mean. The villages, I'm just trying to think of. You know, what does Albert have right now and what does Elma have right now? Cause the LSDs do not have, the signs that we do have would be the little green signs from Department of Transportation, that's all we have. And I believe we're still waiting for a Fundy Albert sign, which will come up in your report, but yeah, so.
So the signs for Riverside Albert, the village, they were reworked and the village was taken off. So the sign says Riverside Albert. And I believe Alma is, it still says village of Alma, the sign was never reworked.
But the signs have, something happened to my sign and it worked at that time. And everything. Yeah. And I'm not real fussy, I just like to see something. Welcome to Hillsborough, I could stand here with the sign. But
I think there
whatever
should
it is.
be, I think there should be a sign in place there.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be as elaborate maybe as what was
No,
there,
absolutely not.
but I think there needs to be something put there to recognize what is here.
Counselor Coates, you've been patient.
Yeah, I kind of, first of all, there was a memo that now you couldn't put signs on a highway without a sign, side of it. I looked for it just quick to see this little month ago that we had to have an engineer do a sighting.
DTI has to issue a.
DTI put
sign
it out,
permit.
you know.
Yeah.
This would be a little different though, because we're putting it right back where it was.
Huh?
Same
No.
dimensions. I suspect we'd be great.
Well, what I'm going on about that, I've got 4 or 5 small communities. The signs were stolen back in 2022. We went to the, first of all with, Albert Shaw. They would talk to ETI on it. And, exactly, they gave well, what's the sense of putting them there? They'll schedule them again. Well, I didn't think that was very much. What would happen if a fire truck was stolen? Would they just not do it? Then the former CAO, she called, and exactly what they said. Oh, costs too much money, send signs up. So we've got them on Lower Coverdale, all down 114. Hillsborough. Oh, well, it's down now, but it has been there. Riverside Albert and Elma. There's nothing in Dawson, Osborne Corner, Baltimore, Roseville, and all through that. I don't know the part of it as far as Turtle Creek, Barrington too. So I think And again, we go back to the green paper. That nobody was losing their holly. But we used that and that was just. That's it, we're, so, no, you don't talk, I thought said on that for TPI, that they had any signs that were replaced.
I'll give them a call, but I'm pretty sure we can grandfather out, if it's a safe.
I'm not
Same place.
for kids. I know Hillsborough having one, but I think we all should have.
It's not private property to move off with, you know.
I think it's.
Yeah. I think we do.
Thank you.
We're good? Thank you. Department reports, legislative services.
Alright, so I provided my report in the council package. Couple things I want to, that's not included in this is, the project deadline for the CWRP with Fire Smart. It's been extended from March 31st to April 15th, which allows for them to come to the council meeting of April 7th, present it to council, and then it can be adopted and submitted to the government. So we do have that flexibility. Just an update on the rental spaces, the Alma incubator spaces, which is below the Alma Activity Center. There's 3 units there. I've received 2 signed agreements back, 1 pending. I'm sure I'll get it back before the end of April. The Artisan Village huts, there's 6 huts available, 4 have been rented, leaving 2 available for rent. So we are continuing to push that out through social media and connecting Albert County. If you know of anybody that's looking to start up a shop, send them our way.
Go ahead.
Just a question on your students.
Yes. Disappointing, isn't it?
Very
I
disappointing.
know, it was like that last year too.
Was it that bad?
Yep. Seed only gave us 1 student last year, and I think I even emailed them last year to see if there was gonna be an announcement for more. And that was a hard no.
So you applied for?
I applied for 4 or 5 for seed and received word just.
In Canada Jobs, how many did you?
I haven't.
But how many did you apply
I think I
for?
applied for 6 through Canada Summer Jobs. Usually we do get, I think, pretty much all that I asked for, usually with Canada Summer Jobs. Seed's been a stickler the last, makes sense amalgamation. I don't know.
Before that,
why,
Seed was tightening up.
but
Cape and Range got less every year. That's pre-2023. Yeah.
I think just it is important for a municipality like, well, any municipality to have the ability to receive funding for summer employment. I think I would make that known to our MLA and to the minister. That you know, we'd like to see that change going forward. I think.
Okay. Good point. Good point. That's it. Operations?
Yep, you should the full report of the council package, however, there have been a few updates since. The stats for 1 alert weren't included on the report. However, we've now got 967 subscribers from 16 alerts issued this year to date, with the latest one being this morning with the Alma Foil order being directed by the Department of Health due to the increased turbidity, successfully due to the snow melt and rain over the past few days. For facility rentals, we have rented or had 46 rentals over the month of February, providing us with $330 of revenue, which brings us to $475 of revenue for those facilities for the year to date. Black McDonald have started working the ventilation work in the arena today. For the Alma Water project, we've been advised that it should be complete mid-April.
April 13th is,
Beginning April 13th.
if all goes well.
Yeah.
If all goes well.
So that is a little bit late, all right, because we
It's 2 weeks late,
2 weeks late.
or sorry, 13 days late.
On Friday.
And those were my key updates.
Question report? Thank you. Financial service, sorry, go
I've
ahead.
got a question, if you don't want, please.
Yep.
The wells in Elma, when they drilled them, the water table has shifted, it has changed because of the summer. And the water levels, I wish the water operator was here, but maybe you could help me with this. Are the water levels lower than what they were when they started?
So there's been a couple of residents not complain about their well, but ask questions. I've got a hydrogeologist basically providing a written response as to what the water tables are. However, it's been suggested that from when they drilled the wells to when they started doing the pump testing recently, the water level was 5 meters down. And they believe that is due to the dry summer last year. But this is why we've got a hydrogeologist, or England got a hydrogeologist looking into it to kind of give a professional assessment as to what's going on.
So how much usable water is available in that well? Because there is turbidity in lower levels, correct?
Yeah.
So what is gonna be, is there a number there that we know that we can use?
That's why I'm waiting for the response from the hydrogeologist to kind of give. I don't want to speculate.
Cause it's 16 feet lower than what it was to start with, right? That's, yeah,
It's fair chunk.
okay. Another thing also, please, I was talking to you earlier about a speed bump on Academy Street.
Yep.
Is that something that's doable? Traffic there, is there still complaining about it? People are flying in there, like it's that new pavement's been there a couple of years. And they're still smoking or coming out through there. So,
It's certainly something we can look into.
I appreciate that. And that culvert issue is still there, and I'll leave that with you, so.
Is that the one on?
Same one, remember right in the corner I was telling you?
Yeah, so
I was down
I
St.
actually,
Phil Swings.
yeah, I actually drove around with, looking forward today around Hillsborough and the other side Albert, because it's a perfect day to look at which culverts are causing us issues.
Yeah.
The key ones are down on Golf Club Road at the bottom of Fairview. There's a lot of work we've got to do there to try and drain that area a bit. That's the worst area, to be honest. A lot of the other areas, yes, there's watering ditches, yes, there's places where we need to do some regrading to get it back into. And there's certainly some culverts that need upsizing as well. And I had a good look around today, starting to do some planning for that.
Cause that pipe is only 80 inches, it's an old water pipe, that's what it is, they put in there.
Certainly is. But on a good point, or I say good point, I went down to have a look at the Golf Club Road culvert today. That's working well. I can send you some pictures and some video footage later if you like. I can show you after.
That's fine,
There is some erosion on the outfall side where the trees are being washed away. We've already sent it up to Anglo. They've already come up with a response saying they're going to look into that, see if there's anything that should and could be done.
Out on the lagoon side, there was some issues there with that. Flowing like fabric, that outfall. Is there any update on that?
Yes, so we just had the early this week or late last week, we've had the RFQ letter drafted up with all the technical details that was pushed out to NBON to get quotes for that job.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. I was gonna say this for council inquiries, but meaning we're on culverts. Back on Academy, near 153, that culvert is failing more.
More than sinking into the road.
Yes, it's to the point now that cars are hitting, going.
Yeah.
Can we like maybe tomorrow, put some dirt or something in that at least to stop that from happening? Because we're gonna end up having people here with bills with ball joints and tie rod ends and fenders, bumpers, whatever.
We've put out bump signs and they're going to get the guys to redo them again tomorrow. Bring them up a bit because they were a bit low on the pickets they put them on. And one of the discussions we had today is looking at replacing that culvert over the next month or so. So it's got plenty of time to settle before we then re-asphalt over it.
But for now, Band-Aid, can we fill something in there? Because it is to the point, it's one thing to have a little bump, but small cars are now dragging. So it is failing more and more and more. A little dirt will go a long way.
My concern with just putting gravel in there to fill a hole is it will just get pushed out and it will just cause more of a mess. It could be that we restrict traffic as such down there, as in narrow the lanes, to avoid the worst part. But again, how busy is Academy, and so I can go down there and have a look again tomorrow.
I appreciate that. I really do think you end up with dirt release and with you some of the problems till we get in there to do a proper fix. It's been failing all winter. But now when cars are bottoming out, something's gotta be done. And it's not like it's you know, side road sees 2 or 3 cars a day. That's the second busiest street in Hillsborough.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of traffic. I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
So would our village, our residents. Thank you.
So. When you talk about the Greensboro Lagoon. I just have to ask, like, I mean, I understand that you've sent emails and there's been no response, but. I also am a provincial employee and I've got a work plan that says I must respond within so many hours. So if they're not responding to you, then I think you need to go to the next level. So whoever is not responding to you, you need to continue to go up because the residents of Greensboro Zone deserve to be. Need the answers of what is going on. And they are gonna be expected to come up with a hefty bill in the coming months, and I think they deserve to know what that is. So if you're not getting a response from the level you're dealing with, then I would ask that you continue to climb that ladder and get that resolved.
I have been discussing with them both because they had the same kind of issues, their project engineer. So
I'll call the deputy. Minister.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Rick, can I go?
Go ahead.
Thanks. So, the ticketing system, I seen a post on Facebook that it's been updated. So I think it's important for you to explain publicly how this ticketing system works, what the time frame is, what the process time is, and does the residents get communicated with when they submit a ticket?
Okay. So the QR code's gone up. It's very similar to what we use for Microsoft Forms where you scan a QR code or click the link on the website.
Right.
They ask a few questions about what it is. Once they complete that form, they will receive a message that explains to them that one has been received and it explains from the prioritization of the or how we prioritize different tasks. As much as we can, we try and get back to them. But as we start getting more and more, it becomes challenging to provide people updates on a regular basis when you've got 20, 30 open tickets. However, the ones that we can tick off straight away, I'm trying to get back to them.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep the line of, I mean, we've put this out as a tool for the residents to embrace. But to send in a ticket and not hear anything back is not embracing the system. It's
I
just a
appreciate that.
process.
As we move forward, the report we get from the system, I'll start providing more and more detail on that as part of the council package.
And just since we're here, I was like Councillor Jonah, I was gonna bring this up later. So the keys at the rec center have now, the locks have been changed, is my understanding. And how many have you had to give out?
I couldn't give you the exact number off the top of my head.
Approximate?
We had a total of, I believe, 50 keys cut, and I'd say getting on to mid-30s off the top of my head.
Okay, and my next question is, I understand that one of the groups was charged for the keys. Was that a deposit for the keys that they needed, and was all groups charged for keys, or just?
So it went forward with that, so each key costs $26 a key, and it was any group that requested more than 2 keys.
Okay.
Charged $10 for a key.
And that's fairly standard.
And that's fair, but when I was asked, I did not have an answer.
Yeah.
So,
I think
hence,
there has only been one group that has requested more than the 2 keys.
cause the rec center gets used a lot in the community and if I fair to guess, we still don't have the proper cleaning stuff for the stove in the kitchen. Which I think I started asking in 2023 when we amalgamated, so. If we don't put some love into the facilities that gets used, then they're just gonna start to.
And there's some additional work in there because the floor is uneven.
Yeah.
And there's a few dips in there that need to be mediated as well in the kitchen.
Yeah, not disagreeing, but the grill, I don't think has been properly cleaned for some time. But maybe I'm wrong in that. That was it. Thank you.
That's it? Thank you. Financial services.
So the financial department has been working steadily with E6 and our auditor has been. And our 2023 financial statements have finally been completed, are in final partner review. With our completed draft statements and adjustment, we've been, making updates to our 2024 audit package. And we're hoping to submit that package as soon as possible, once we receive our 2023 drafts back and they are approved. Due to these changes in different finance priorities and the result of the 2023 financials, there will be a further delay in presenting unaudited financial statements for 2025. We're continuing to strive to have those numbers completed as quickly as possible, but want to ensure that we provide strong and accurate numbers. And income statements and bank balances as of February 28th, our general operating is sitting with a profit of over $193,000 and had over $778,000 available in the bank account. Monthly reporting, there's nothing too concerning. Our public works equipment budget is a few percent over, but that's a lot to do with replacements that we have budgeted for the year being completed, good majority at the first of the year. For Alma Utility, we're seeing a profit of over $72,000 with 29, almost 30,000 in the bank, plus our 50,000 overdraft. Again, nothing too concerning. It's showing in our monthly reporting. For Hillsborough Utility, it's showing a loss of $18,000, and I continue to reiterate, this is not a concern, it's just the way billing is completed. So next month, it will show a surplus and it'll be less worrisome. To look at, the available bank balance is over 154,000. Power and pumping is a little bit higher. This is partly due to some repairs that have been completed on our generator for Albert Mine as well. And as few as others. For Riverside Albert Utility, we're seeing a profit of over $79,000 with over 141,000 available in the bank account. Also want to note that we'll be closing the overdraft soon as our ministerial order is expiring for short-term borrowing. And again, there's nothing too concerning. Even if once I have our insurance breakdown from the insurance company, they'll make a few adjustments here and there, but I don't see anything that's going to be significant to our financials. For our receivables, I'm currently preparing disconnection warning notices and disconnection notices for outstanding accounts prior to their first quarter and the second quarter. And our first quarter billing and second quarter billing will be starting here shortly. And also, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but we do have a good portion of our arrears for Hillsborough Utility that it will be that was collected this month. And that was partly to the property changing hands. So that is all I have to report for tonight. Is there any questions regarding our finances that I can say to it?
Yes, please. Is the new software in place for the audits process? Troy County? We're supposed to get software from E6 right now.
Right, zero, yeah, so that's being populated as we speak. So 2022's been inputted, I think.
I think 23, he's inputted 24. Now that we have the adjustments, we're going to add those as well. And once we finish 25 year end together, we're hoping to populate that all into zero and then start putting the project actually live.
So we're using that in-house on.
What's that?
We're using that in-house.
How do you mean in-house? Like, are we actually using that as an operating system right now?
Yeah.
No.
E6 is looking through.
Right, they're populating.
Okay.
With all the.
When is E6 done? When does that contract come to an end?
End of May?
I think in May.
Yeah, it's still in May.
We thought it was happening after the end of May.
We budgeted
we did budget for some, month-end process, assistance. And I think as well as for year end.
So once their contract's done, they're done.
No, we still engage with them because we've budgeted for future engagement for like, month ends,
Okay,
year ends and all that kind of stuff.
just won't be as rigorous.
It won't be as rigorous.
Where is that? Cause that was my question, Councillor Lane. So currently the budget is for 15,000, we've spent 20 at this point. So we've already spent our a lot of budgeted money for that. So where do you anticipate the additional cost to keep E6? What line item is that coming out of?
May I make a note on that? Councilor Ward Russell, as noted on the notes, the current expenses for E6, and it's offset by the deferred revenue.
Right.
So there's a there's a revenue that's recorded up top for that $20,000, and that offsets that 20,000 there. So in all technicality, we haven't used the budgeted amount for that line yet.
Okay.
Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, no, so the 15 is still available,
That's correct.
but that'll go quite quick, I would think.
Possibly. Anybody else?
No, I'm looking forward to this new accounting. I know I was gonna stay quiet, but I am looking forward to this new accounting system. I'm looking forward to seeing what the last 3 years look like. I can't stress enough the importance of having our finances up to date and moving forward, because, you know, right now we have nothing to compare anything to. So it'll be nice to have all that stuff in one place to get a report. So I'm assuming, what is the estimated time frame that we will be getting some reports from this new accounting system? Do we have a target date?
I would probably say toward the end of May.
Okay.
And then I should add that I've been told by the auditor that we should be having the audit back to us by Friday.
Perfect.
And once we have that in hand, we'll set a special meeting.
Absolutely.
Very done.
Yeah.
More than one, huh?
I can't remember.
I do.
Anybody else? Okay. Their council statements and inquiries. Anyone go?
I have nothing, no, I already spoke again, I'm good.
Council Ward Russell.
Surprise you all, I'm going to.
Goats.
No, nothing.
Oh, it's more. Councilor.
I know I always have something to say. I didn't get an opportunity to hear the budget that came down today from the province, but I just wanted to share that there's a lot of concern in our region of what this budget may or may not do for Fundy Albert, including Cape and Rage tourism, including our local museums. There's a big fear that some of their funding is going to be gone. And again, I haven't heard the budget, so I'm not sure where Riverside Albert Consolidated School hits, or hopefully didn't get hit, I should say. So I think I've had a couple of conversations with the tourism operator at the museum and their board chair, and you know, they gave me a new perspective as we look at grants that we don't do anymore. There is an importance of the municipality supporting some of these funded museums in the area that we have cut it completely. So I think it is my hope that whoever comes in as the new council will take some of this into consideration as whoever the new council completes a budget for 2027, that we may have to go back and have a second look at that, depending on what funding they may or not be getting from the province. Because there is some concerns, and like I said, I haven't heard the budget, so I'm not sure how it ended. I did attend a little meeting with the Riverside Albert Rec Council. It was just an informal meeting. They're trying to come up with some new programs and some volunteers. They're looking at doing a community potluck at some point because we have a lot of new residents in the area that nobody seems to know. So it's important to try and get them out in the community and that kind of thing. I did attend the Albert County Exhibition Training Section last night with Councillor Land and Mayor Campbell. It was very well done, very well presented, and certainly the way it was laid out, we don't realize the economic impact that a 4-day event of the Albert County exhibition has, not just for the fair, but they highlighted over the years, you know, $100,000 more has been given to the grad classes of Caledonia. You know, local, half the people that come are not from the area. So it was good to have a little different perspective on it. I'm continuing to work with Sean on our volunteer appreciation coffee morning on April 25th. It is my hope that all of council can attend from 9 to 11, just a drop-in thing. We're just finalizing the final details. Thank you to everybody that got back to me with regards to the list of volunteers. That's it for me.
Yeah, my question is just me and but I do want to add something to the table. With the next council that's coming in, talking about budgets, Councillor Arlequin. I think the Fundy Albert needs to hire somebody for grant purposes only. There's tons of them out there, tons of them. And I know everybody in the office got their thing and then they do them, they find them, and that's all good, but there's a lot of things moving in the office. Maybe hire somebody on a salary basis with a percentage. If you get $100,000 grant, we can use it, a little piece that goes in their pocket. Give them a carrot to look into and make them aggressive so they find more grants. That we can use in Fundy Hour to fix a walking trail down there. You know, upgrades for stuff at the rec center in Albert or Nelma, or wherever, all over.
Economic development.
Economic development, exactly. We got people looking to build, you know, small apartment buildings, house complex, blah, blah, blah. But I think with what we have in the office, everybody's busy doing their own thing, and I understand that. But if there is someone, grants, that's all that person does. 24/7, make it work.
I could see that person doing actually more than grants. I could see them being more of the community. Doing those grants, the community development sphere.
Whatever circle you want to put around it, I think that's
the way, yeah, I look at it. And you know, like that, the age friendly,
yes,
you know, stuff like that they could be looking at getting grants for age friendly things. So if, you know, we need a ramp at the rec center somewhere, well, they're out looking and putting in an accessibility grant.
Decent chair for the mayor.
Or decent chair for the mayor.
That's huge, sure.
Yeah.
No, it's just a thought.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It was a really good idea.
And economic development is a key thing in the area. What I think, one thing I have always kind of said in Fundy Albert is, we've got no corporates. When you leave Riverview, the business that you go down the road, there's a gas station, which are corporates, I understand that. But for the most part, all these businesses are local. These people are local. They're putting their sweat, tears and energy into this thing, and the money that they make, it's going full circle. Like we had a meeting last night, the Albert County exhibition thing. The spin-off of that is massive. If you were to sit down, like probably $250,000, you wouldn't touch it for 4 days. Wouldn't touch it. So you got gas, you got smokes, you might have some drinks, you have some. It's endless. Plus what they spend at the fair. They got to get there. It's a huge spin-off.
Yeah. And then there's business retention and expansion that we need to look at. You know, we need to be expanding our tax base, because if we ever get in a situation where we're losing population, that's going to put some massive pressures on our finances. So there's definitely a role for that person.
I don't think you're gonna have a population decrease. I think you're gonna have a population increase.
That's the hook. Right?
That's, well, look around the rest of the world, what's going on. People are looking for a place to come and live quietly, and friendly by nature, right? We're here. And, you know, seniors get older, there's some of the houses might come up. There's all kinds of things gonna take place in the future, so anyway, this is my thoughts.
Yeah, so good.
Done.
Good input.
And just to add to that, sorry, the Albert County exhibition, you know, what we give to them is a page in advertising. That's the,
Seems like golf tournament.
yeah,
Right, like golf tournament too, you know, they put a lot of money into all these organizations.
yeah, absolutely, and, you know. As they identified the economic impact last night, you know, when you really narrowed it down, it gave a new perspective. Including the local fire department, that's probably one of their biggest fundraisers in 4 days, you know, so it's interesting, I don't think. Going back to the volunteers, we don't appreciate the volunteers that keep this place running as much as we should.
Here,
Right.
agreed. The biggest thing Fundy Albert has a problem with is selling itself. It has for the last 30 years.
Yep.
We have a gem there, it's been a gem. And nice to keep the gem, but you can also increase the business to support things. So
I guess what, in 2 short weeks from now, there's gonna be a lot of people in Europe knowing this place exists.
Good. Well, thank you, Matt, well, for stuff, you're welcome. I did 3 Southeast Regional Commission meetings, one of them was certainly quite interesting over the infrastructure. A lot of good comments, as you heard tonight, so. I had some, I was at the Albert County Exhibition meeting last night. It was an interesting conversation, and what they bring to Fundy Albert in the way of money throughout that 4 days is pretty remarkable. I had 4 meetings with residents about different issues. I won't get into them, but most of them were solved fairly quickly, and with some help from staff. Councillor Land and I met with a resident today about some issues, and what we learned about their business was eye-opening. They run a wedding barn. They have approximately 22 weeks to 24 weeks during the season to operate. Every wedding that happens there brings at least 150 people who stay overnight in accommodations, visit the corner store for some beverages and potato chips, storm chips. Okay. Also, they've started a steel business. And the amount of equipment that they have and the amount of business that they're talking about doing is amazing. And they're employing people. Probably 8. Not all full-time, but some are full-time. I think 4 are full-time and 4 are part-time. So what they're doing for our economy is pretty awesome. And I think my goal has been with Sean to visit people and try and bring more of that here. So we'll continue in that vein to see what happens.
And we did meet with Opportunities New Brunswick, and we can, you know, if there's an ask, something specific, we can help facilitate.
And whether it's myself or the next council needs to at least, I believe every 6 months, they should be in the face of the province. Maybe not every minister, but at 4 or 5, that they choose to visit and say, we're here, we need your help, and this is what we want to do. And I think they need to do that going forward.
Gotta be in their face. It's gotta be in their face.
Gotta be in their face so they won't even. So anyway, enough of that.
I just appreciate what you've been doing with that as well. It's needed, and Jim, you jumped on it. Thank you. Fundy Albert and remind you better. That's a good thing.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to next week when we do the mayor's roundtable. Quite pleased with what we have 33 registered, which was way beyond my expectations.
As a counselor, do I have to register or do I just go?
Well, if you want to eat.
Well, I better cover the online ready.
You'll register, yeah, you'll. So I'm really excited about that and to see what collaboration we can bring from these people and they're all volunteer groups that we gotta be thankful there's that many here. Cause they do a lot, you don't even understand sometimes what they do. We need to continue with that. That's all I have to say right now. Public statements and inquiries. Do you have anything, Kathy?
Just a couple of things you mentioned about your tickets, and I hope you got one about the two beavers that are.
I had a text message or something.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it
On the way.
did, the two beavers, there were only one are now back, and there's two. The mention about the kitchen and the rec center, and the grill, we've been in there with CCRC stuff and the proper equipment isn't there for cleaning the grill, so I don't know if your staff know what proper equipment is, but I'd certainly be willing to,
Probably an email, so I'm currently setting up, or take it, yeah. I'm currently looking at trying to set up all of the rec centers with almost a cleaning closet, so users have got access to rooms, mops, and stuff. However, I won't put out any chemicals and stuff like that.
yeah, no.
I'm not willing to
So Kathy, we'll go and buy that stuff next week.
Oh,
next Friday.
so I'll send you.
just send me what it is, and then they get it all, and then we'll put it on the shelves.
The floor won't be fixed right away.
Pardon. Uh, unfortunately, or fortunately for the winner, the ace went last week on Chase the Ace, but the new license has gone in. And we anticipate having the first draw, April 10th. So there's only going to be a couple of weeks that we're down. So hopefully that will continue. When we talk about growth here, you were talking with the economic, development issues and growth for Fundy. Albert, I just encourage you to, Fundy Housing has some real projects that need some attention, so I would encourage you to, stay on top of their requests. Other than that, I appreciate the large package that got sent out for this meeting. And I can't say, like it's pages that whether it's I don't have a life or not, I don't know, but I do go through all of that stuff, and as a resident, I appreciate the knowledge of the time it takes straight from financial reports to operational reports and Sean, your stuff, and it's valuable whether you hear it or not. It is appreciated. That's it.
Anybody else? No?
I have some training to do, obviously.
Yeah, okay. Anita?
But they're all here and they got free pens, so it should be right.
It's not every meeting, but every once in a while, we get a.
Be exciting.
Yeah, this is gonna be good. With that,
Oh, I have one question. Wait, what?
I offered, you didn't say anything.
Yeah, I apologize. And thinking back to the conference room, we've had the pleasure of working with the Maple Hills to do their branding as well. And in the process, we have had a pretty good look at their council chambers. Does our quote include furniture and the whole bit? Like, is it the full, or is it just the electronics?
The quote that I said, that was just for audiovisual only.
So you got a furniture budget on top of that?
Yes, there'll be a furniture, there is a furniture budget.
Because my understanding, for what it's worth, is that the whole kit and caboodle at Maple Hills only cost them 30 grand. Furniture and maybe installed. Now, it was probably an under construction situation where they didn't have to knock out walls and stuff. You might have slightly different circumstances, but that appeared to be a big gap for me. 46 to 30, not including furniture, which I assumed reading the quotes, but.
Well, the TV and the credenza to store the equipment.
Yes, I did see that.
Yes, but I don't know who
the
did
desk
their
and the-
audio visual and when they did it, I don't.
I believe
know
it
your-
was Ivans.
Well, geez,
I believe,
but it's probably been in place a little bit longer too.
I'll ask Anna, but I believe it was,
Yeah, I don't know, the guy
That's
came
what they
and looked at our
buy
room.
too.
I'm
There's
not.
all different levels of equipment,
Not sure.
yeah, for sure.
for sure. And did they take out the walls that were taken out and
Well, they just built the building.
Yeah, the whole brand.
oh, they built a whole
Brand
new
new
building. Oh,
building.
wow. They had a little more tied up than we did.
I only got 100,000.
Yeah. Quite a difference.
One last comment, based on this, I hope your renovations will include plugins in the floor.
We're looking at that, yeah.
Yes, this looks, I mean, there's no tea tonight, that's great, but
I may never bring tea again. Although I need it.
All right, anything else? Okay, well,
I'll make a motion to go to closed session.
thank you. Second by Jonah. All in favor?
I didn't know we had one, I didn't pick up